Hello, everybody. Welcome to this, which is we're gonna go over all of the teams and stuff in Rebbrl College. Now that we've had a couple weeks to get things settled under control, college in particular tends to be a little bit unstable at the start because people have not played a whole lot of games before. They don't really know what Blood Bowl's like. Some people step in, step out, all that kind of stuff. And we also have a few weeks to actually get some development going. After like 2 games, most teams will not have any skills, and it's kind of boring to talk about them. Like, oh look, a dwarf team that looks like every other dwarf team. Continue.
They have 2 guns.
Yeah.
That must be nice.
So if you're not sure, I'm Steakmittens' name's down there. That one's Shadorra. His name's also down there. And
you talk to all the time with your problems.
yeah, and we also do these kinds of reviews and stuff for Rebbrl in the majors. 9E and 9D are the divisions we generally cover, so we do weekly streams, generally on Wednesday, covering those divisions. So if you like this kind of format and you want to pay attention to some of the other leagues, then feel free to check those out. And I also stream as many of my own Blood Bowl games as possible, so...
That should be better. I've now got the mic nice and close to my face.
Yep, it is better. So let's just get right into this. We are starting off in America's A, because it's the first division on the list. And
America's C, unfortunately, for the True Blue.
No. So the first team, we're going to go over all the teams, look at their skills and stuff, and then we'll briefly take a look at the leaderboard, see how people are positioned, and then we'll move on to the next division, probably. So the first team on the list here is Fruity Scoots, coached by Amadeus Maxwell, Lizardmen at 1200 TV. Am I correct in that?
Sorry, what was that? I was reading Migo complaining about his dice rolls.
The first team we're looking at is Fruity Scoots, right? Amadeus Maxwell.
Yeah. We'll start on that.
1200 TV Lizard team. Some development. I like the names.
I agree.
Apple Smacks. Croxer with guard, pretty standard. One of the first skills you basically always pick up on a Croxagor. One Blocksaurus. I mean, ideally you'd like to have more, but you've only had 4-ish games. The downside is 3 of your Saurus are at 0 SPP. 4 of them are at 0 SPP, so you're a bit away from getting more block, which is a little bit sad, but hopefully...
Hey Ben, could you right-click on me in Discord and make sure my user volume is set to max?
It should be.
Pretty please. I don't know why I'm so quiet on your stream.
Don't know. You're turned up to like 180%, so say something.
Say something.
Pretty loud in my ears. I hope that's okay for other people. The exciting thing, though, is that Pop the Skink has rolled doubles and picked up block.
Yeah, so based on Luckchop the second, having played 0 games, I'm guessing he lost a source. It might have even been a developed source based on his SPP. So he's got pretty unfortunate source development in that 4 of them are still total rookies, and he sustained a death early on a source, or at least a stat bust. The 1 block is nice. It means you've got a blitzer. The block skink is, of course, excellent, and the sidestep is pretty standard. He's got a guard Croxagor already because he got a lucky MVP and a Cas, it looks like. That really helps make the strength advantage even more impressive. So yeah, it's a good start.
Sidestep skink is also nice. Take a look at the Raucous Royals, coached by Weeknight Wizard. I like that name. It's Weeknight. It's kind of clever.
You forgot his record, which is 3 wins and 1 loss.
Oh, sorry.
The record. It's fine.
I'm good at this. It's like I've done it before. 3-0-1.
So we got a kick lineman, a block lineman, a dodge blitzer, and a catcher who hasn't leveled up yet, as well as a lineman who hasn't leveled up yet.
Yeah, the kick is pretty standard. Elves, you'll pick up kick basically on the first person who levels, just because you're all about being able to control where that goes, long kicks or short kicks, depending on if you want to take advantage of it or not, all that kind of good stuff. Linemen are likely to get either block, dodge, or wrestle, kind of, as a first skill. Block is a good option because you only get 2 blitzers as high elves. You would like levels on that catcher, and he has a level, so we'll see something there. Dodge potentially Nerves of
I like
Steel, maybe.
the total lack of commitment to the elf famous person theme, except for Alpha Fitzgerald and Elfton John.
Yeah, and all the other ones are just famous people.
You kind of got a little lazy after those first two, I feel.
It's like what I did with my Nurgle team. You know, I could pick a couple good names, and then like you gotta find some ones that aren't as good now.
You playing with a CPU cooler?
What?
I just see something weird in your hand. Anyway,
Oh,
wins.
it's a coaster, Team Liquid coaster.
Okay. He's got 4 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses. So yeah, he's undefeated thus far. He's doing really well. I've seen Weeknight Wizard around in the chat, in the college chat. So
one level on the Blitzer, which is good. You'd like to get a bit more on the more key players, right? Like Elfton John has nothing, BB King has nothing, and we're pending a level on Alpha Fitzgerald. But you know, these kind of 4 players are basically your key, and then the rest of the linemen are your kind of supporting cast that don't really do a whole lot to win you games.
Yeah, but if you're going 4-0 with high elves, the notoriously difficult to start with kind of elves, yeah, I mean, this is good development. He's already getting good SPP on his pieces. He's got a couple that are MVP ready. Yeah, so it's a good team. Next up, we have Angray's Dark Elves, who
Salty
I've seen around
Chips.
as well. Yes, this is the guy who named everything Chip, and we were like, you can do that, but it's going to
yeah, it doesn't really cause a problem in the long run. It's just it can only be bad for you sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
In that if there's if anything needs to get fixed because some game happened weirdly or whatever, the in-game client for admins has no way of differentiating between different people named the same thing. So if like I need player number 4 Chip to gain an extra 2 SPP because something broke, and we type in Chip, it's just going to go randomly. So
yeah, I know. Or if we have to recreate a match, we can't tell which Chip is the one that got SPP or injuries or whatever. So everything gets applied randomly, but that's okay. So he's got an AV busted Blitzer, so that's glue. Thankfully, he was a rookie.
Yeah, you don't have the money to replace him right now, which kind of sucks. But you are going to be out a Blitzer next game anyway, so just hope that you can get the money to replace him.
I don't think it's technically possible unless his opponent concedes, but that's fine. I mean, that's the Dark Elf life. You often lose positionals, and the positionals are incredibly expensive. So,
yeah, the nice thing though is that there's a Blodge Blitzer started, which is always good. Blodge
and he's
is
got the
exceptionally good.
Agi5 Dodge lineman, which is also pretty good. Dark Elf linemen are perfectly fine for developing, as long as you've got loners to throw on the LOS.
And
so
he's
the
got
Agi5 is helpful. Might use him as a receiver or a ball carrier.
Yeah,
really
well, he's got a runner.
performance.
Not everybody picks up a runner in Dark Elves, but it's certainly not a bad thing to do. People do the weird rugby-style thing with Dark Elves that you can also do with Bretonnians in a kind of strange way, where you don't really make long forward passes, you kind of make sideways passes once the teams get out of position, and the dump off on runners helps with that. And the dodge lineman, like having him on the corner of a cage or something, is an excellent target to receive a pass with Agi5 and dodge, because he can receive it, dodge out, whatever, or dodge somewhere, receive it, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, and based on his SPP, he's not scoring with the runner. So, and based on the fact that he has 20 SPP on Chip the lineman, I would say he's probably running it in with this lineman right here.
Nope, he's got zero touchdowns. He's got an MVP 4 times.
Oh, really?
Jeez.
Yes. Well, at least he rolled plus Agi. I mean, you'd be kind of frustrated otherwise. But yeah, looking pretty good. He's got a record of 2-2, so a bit of a mixed bag.
Chip. I was going to say Chip has the touchdowns. They're all named Chip. Chip the Blitzer, the Blodge Blitzer, has 2 touchdowns. So that's where those 6 SPP come from.
Yeah, it's a good looking team.
2-0-2.
Get to replace that Blitzer.
Kind of middle of the pack, 2-0-2.
And next up is Nurgle. All of the Nurgle teams that I have been following are horribly battered, and this one is no exception at 760 TV.
The Nurgle team named Rebbrl, coached by Hellraiser84. Ouch, what happened to you, man? That's so many injuries. Jeez. Like, the team looks fine. It's just that from whatever happened last game, you just lost all of your players, man.
That's a Nurgle. That's a Niggled Nurgle Warrior. That's an MNG Pestigore. That's an what is this on the plus?
He played an Orc team that got 14 armor breaks, and he sustained 6 casualties. Like, he just got beaten up in his last game real hard. is what happens here. Are any of them perms?
Yeah, there's a niggled Nurgle warrior with 2 SPP, so that's probably glue. Maybe not right away.
Only if you can afford to replace him.
Yeah.
And definitely not right away because you can't afford to replace him as Nurgle, right? He only has 1 Pestigore currently because that's how you start with Nurgle. Or no, he has 3. The other 2 are also miss next game. You probably want the 3rd reroll first, and then replace the Nurgle warrior.
Well, he's also only got 3 Nurgle warriors, so I wonder if he's sustained to death. Yes, he has.
Yeah. So that's tough. I think I would
gotta buy a new Nurgle warrior.
I would pick the 4th Nurgle warrior, and then I would get a reroll and then replace the niggled Nurgle warrior afterwards once you've gotten the money.
Sorry, go ahead. You're the Nurgle coach.
I was going to say the levels he does have are super nice, though. The Beast of Nurgle starting with Guard is good. There's 2 options you can go there, right? Guard or Stand Firm. Depends on what teams you're kind of playing. If you're likely to play a lot of punchy teams, Guard is a better option because it's harder to knock over, makes your blocks easier, that good stuff. If you're playing against like elfy teams or dodgy teams, whatever, Stand Firm is probably better just because then they can't move your beast very well, and they're not likely to actually do a whole lot of blocks anyway. And that just keeps him on like the dodgy players. Downside is there's no Nurgle Warrior levels, and there's almost no Nurgle Warrior SPP. You'd like to get them leveled, but all of the Nurgle players need levels except for the Rotters. Like you need a ton on Pestigores, you need a ton on Warriors, and that's just the way it is. The really nice thing though is that Tyro, the Pestigore, has got Strength 4, so when he comes back from his miss next game, that is a Strength 5 on the Blitz Pestigore, which is insane. And this guy is going to instantly become your killer, right? Like next levels, he's taking Mighty Blow, Claw, Block, like probably in that order.
I'd almost be tempted to make him into a Cage Diver. You could give him Break Tackle, maybe not Wrestle, maybe you'd still go Block. Strip Ball.
You could do that. You could also make him your Ball Carrier, honestly, because then Strength 4 is much more difficult to knock down once you've gotten Block and Dodge.
Spoilers, a Strength 4 piece with like Mutation Access can do basically whatever it wants to do.
Yeah, that's true. It's a hard choice to make, I guess. I guess it depends. He's going to be a ways away from leveling anyway. So I think what you do is you try to level your other 2 Pestigores first over him, and you see what they get. And if either of them gets like plus Agi, they can be a Ball Carrier. If not, I'd consider making Tyro the Ball Carrier because he's very difficult to knock over once he has Strength and Dodge. And then it'd be very easy to blitz free, right? If they mark you up your Ball Carrier. Wow, you've marked up a Strength 5 guy when he blitzes you, and he's even with assists, he's just going to get out.
I think based on... So, like, right now, I would focus on getting him Block, because no matter what role he gets, Block is a pretty good call. And that way he can be your blitzer for now, and he can be the strength you need to, like, not suck as hard as early Nurgle. We're talking about this team a lot, but it's kind of interesting. And that way, as your team develops, you can maybe push him into a more specialized role. But for now, he can be that kind of general all-purpose blitzing piece. So.
Yeah, but as Nurgle, you need to remove people early. Otherwise, you just are not going to win, especially as early Nurgle. So you do need to prioritize one of your Pestigores at least as a murderer.
As a Mighty Blow Claw killer, yeah.
Yeah,
true.
And you don't have that yet either, right? So I would focus on leveling at least one of the other Pestigores for now and see what happens before making a decision on that guy. But you got a double on the Rotter to get Guard, which is awesome. Guard Rotter is super useful. There's just another piece you can throw into the mix that you don't care about, but is also very easy to provide assists essentially anywhere. Guard is good skill. Let's look at the record
and pace a little bit.
Yeah, because it's going to take forever. 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. Pretty typical Nurgle start. It's very hard to win early on as Nurgle. You'll get a lot of draws and stuff.
Absolutely.
Wrath of
something
Slan.
a bit more interesting. Yeah, it's
F711.
It's a Kislev team. Kislev are a really interesting team. Kind of difficult to play, to say the least. But,
he's got a bench, but 2 of those bench are his next game. The block lineman, the only leveled player really, like the only leveled lineman anyway, is movement busted. It sucks, but as soon as like you could even afford. I would keep him for the next game because he has block at least, and then if you didn't have him, you would be having a loner, and loner when on Kislev when you need to spend those rerolls on stuff. Very often is kind of bad, so I'd keep him for the next game, but he's likely to just get replaced or fired, especially since you have
I keep
a
him as
bench.
line fodder. I don't think he needs to be fired at movement 5, but
You don't need a bench of 2 players, right? You don't need 13 people as Kislev.
you mean you do want to foul as Kislev. You've got 60k linemen. It's not super expensive. But yeah, I mean, anyway, he's definitely at best line fodder, at worst fired.
Catcher has got dodge,
only,
which is good.
Yep, he's only got 1 catcher for the next game, so that's kind of rough. But
he's also only
dodge
got
catcher is nice.
Also only got 1 blitzer for the next game, because blitzers as Kislev are your star players, right? But blitzers and catchers are going to do so much of your work, but mainly blitzers because they're so good. They're also really expensive. Sadly, you're missing 1, but on the plus side, he has guard. Leaping guard, kind of good. You can leap him into places where he normally would have to dodge to give assists and all that kind of stuff.
Yep,
Really
he's had a rough go at it, though. He's 1 win and 3 losses, but Kislev early can have that problem, and once they start getting some more kill skills, they get a good sacker out of a blitzer.
Yeah,
really
they're a weird hybrid, like elf-human kind of thing, because of the catchers with their agi. 4 catchers is an aggressive catcher start, certainly.
Yeah, and he's got 4 rerolls now, at least, so he's doing quite well. 4 rerolls would normally be too many for a team, but on Kislev it makes a lot of sense.
You need it for leaps. He's going to probably play a little more elfy style with a bunch of extra catchers, dodge, diving catch, that good stuff. But you just need a few more skills to make that kind of style a little better, like getting pass on someone or whatever. Teenage Bottle Rocket, the Chaos Dwarfs by Ryurata. Chaos Dwarfs. Well, not a ton to talk about, but you're more Chaos Dwarfy than me, so go for it.
Sure. He went block on a Bull Centaur. It's either block or break tackle first. Either are useful. It's debatable. Block makes them a bit more useful as blitzers or as ball carriers. Break tackle is better later on. You're going to get that as the second skill almost no matter what, because they're effectively movement 9 because of sprint sure feet. So you really want to keep them mobile with their strength 4. They can make a really easy break tackle dodge, so it makes a lot of sense. Going guard first on the blockers is another, like, Chaos Dwarfs is just like every choice you make is debated heavily. Some people really like Mighty Blow and then into guard because you want to get Mighty Blow on players first in case you roll a double to get Claw. But guard also is really helpful. You've only got 6 blockers, so you really don't have that dwarven just like wall. You have to really pay attention to the positioning on your blockers to make sure you're setting up for good blocks and stuff like that. And he's got a kick, or Dirty Player Hobgoblin, rather, which is perfect. They're 40k linemen. You absolutely want to pick up DP on one and just kick people anytime they hit the ground. Super helpful. It's pretty good development. It's not a lot of development. He's got SPP spread everywhere, but that's not a problem later on. He'll get more blocker levels. So
2 1-1, so slightly above average there, or with 2 wins and 1
doing pretty well.
Loss. And the team is nice and together still. No injuries, nothing, and a bench of 2, which is probably a little bit more than you need, but not bad, I guess, on Chaos Dwarves. Not bad at all.
And then we have Panic at the KO by Nditits.
This is the team that decimated the Nurgle team in the last game. It caused like 8 injuries or something.
And with that blitzer, I'm not terribly surprised.
Yeah, that's a block guard Mighty Blow orc player, and that's... I mean, that's what you do on orcs, I guess, right? So, I've talked about the black orc thing more times than I care to count, so I'm not going to do it again. But block on black orc is good. The other option is guard. If you don't go guard on black orcs, you need to take it on blitzers, which is what he did. So you get guard on 1 blitzer, and then he got guard on 2 of the blitzers, and then the next one to level up picked up Mighty Blow. You definitely want a killer piece as orcs. I tend to pick it up first, so just have one guy immediately go Mighty Blow, and then you can get tackle or piling on or whatever. You'll probably get, like, guard on the kill piece can be kind of bad, because you're going to very often want to pick up piling on, and then if you're not guarding if you're on the floor.
I don't think this was intended to be a kill piece. It's more of a mobile support piece that is going to be making blocks, so picking up Mighty Blow makes some amount of sense. You might, maybe he was hoping to get dodge or something like that as well, like roll a double. But yeah, I mean, I would imagine one of these blockers when they level up is going to go straight into the Mighty Blow tackle piling on route, but hasn't gotten there yet.
Yeah, it also might just be for helping him to level some. But it's because he took block on the black orc, you have to take guard on some blitzers, because guard, like, orcs really need guard. And once you've taken block on a black orc, the rest of them need to start getting block, because otherwise they fall way behind in development. So he had to get guard first on these 2 blitzers, but you know, 1, 2, 3. By the time he got to his 4th level, he still hadn't had a Mighty Blow, so they probably just wanted one. And that player will transition into something else and just be a guard piece that people will be afraid to uphill if they need to because of the Mighty Blow.
Exactly. So yeah, pretty good development. Makes a lot of sense. He's 3-1, so doing really well.
Also above average, no draws there.
Yeah. And
Santa
next up is
and his elves.
His elves, yes.
Juffin? I'm not sure. Norse team. 1 pending level and nothing to talk about.
Yeah, not a lot. It doesn't seem like he's been too beaten up. It looks like he lost a lineman. He's got both Berserkers, both Ulfs. He's got the Yeti. No SPP on the Yeti yet, which kind of sucks. No levels on the Berserkers yet. He does have a runner level and a pending level on that runner as well. So
well, that's the pending level.
Oh, right, because they
start with Dauntless.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what's really funny is that I don't really play Norse, and only recently did I learn that Norse have a thrower. Just no one ever buys him. I've never seen a Norse thrower, so I didn't know they existed until recently.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so, but there you go. The 5 SPP on an Ulf is good. 5 SP on PP on a Berserker is good. They're getting close to getting a level. If you could level up those 2 pieces, suddenly things become a lot better. Ulf wants to pick up block to make him more reliable, probably. And the Berserker is such a perfect killer. Starts with jump up and frenzy. Like, if your first level on a Berserker is not Mighty Blow, you're doing it wrong.
Yep, agreed. The whole Norse game plan is to bully you and take advantage of the fact that they're incredibly reliable.
Yeah, I've heard Ornan describe it as a tempo Blood Bowl, like in the way that you play tempo like Hearthstone decks, and that you kind of have to react and change your playstyle based on what's currently happening. And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, so you always just want to keep your opponent on the back foot so that you're always the one making the blocks and he's always the one reacting to them. So.
Yeah, because all your armor 7 means that if some things go bad, you can suddenly crumple pretty quickly. So you need to be the one dictating play to the best of your ability.
Yep, he's got 190k, so I expect him to pick something up. Maybe a 3rd reroll, maybe another runner. I don't know a lot about Norse builds, but I feel like having both runners makes a lot of sense. They're really good pieces.
Well, yeah, they're expensive though for not a whole lot compared to just a lineman, right? They're the exact same stat line as a lineman, other than +1 movement, and they're +1
movement on a movement 6 team is huge though. Movement 7 versus movement 6 is a big difference.
It's possible. Not everyone will pick one up. Not everyone even plays with 1, to be honest. But it's not bad, certainly. He's only at 11, or he's only at 10, so he does need a replacement piece at some point, but you don't need it right now. You can deal with 1 loner lineman. Loner with block isn't terrible. Stick him on the line. So just, I would probably get a 3rd reroll and then go from there.
Yep, I agree.
202, so dead average. And we have
Console.
Yeah, and I by Squiggy is not a real team.
It is not. So this is someone who joined as a reserve. Console of Microtransactions is, I believe, his full name. And he joined with a human team.
So has he played any actual games yet? Or
I think so. He joined a couple of...
Okay.
Yeah, he played the Salty Chips. Yeah. He's played 1 game.
All right. He's got Guard on an Ogre. Perfectly reasonable. Basically the first big guy skill you get on almost every big guy, unless you happen to roll doubles or something. Just strength 5 piece is hard to move, and he has Guard, so he's going to be in the play a lot, and will be giving assists everywhere. First Blitzer got Mighty Blow. Makes a lot of sense. Sometimes you'll see human Blitzers get Guard, but you probably getting Mighty Blow as the first one. Makes sense just to speed up development and stuff, and other ones will likely get Guard, because movement 7 guard pieces are really good.
Yeah, for sure.
Block on a lineman, totally standard. Some people get kick first or dirty player because they're 50k linemen. That's fine. But block is also reasonable. Just makes them less likely to get broken when they're on the line. And they will be on the line.
And you will get broken because you're humans. And he's doing... Oh, he's only got 1... He's 4-0, but that's because he's got 3 admin wins. So yeah. One of those is not real. Or only one of those is a real game, I should say.
One thrower, 1 catcher. Pretty standard for humans. Some people play with 2 catchers. Some people play with 2 throwers. Humans are very... There's many different ways to play humans. That's kind of the point of humans.
It's true. They are They beat up elf teams and they try to elf bash teams. So that's it. And I
it's
guess we'll move on to the leaderboard now.
It's going to be a little harder to out elf bash team with only one thrower and one catcher, especially as Agi3. So he's focusing more on the movement human kind of game. But yeah, so leaderboards.
If it runs faster than you, it's Elfie. That's just like how it works out.
I guess. Unsurprisingly, the 4-0 High Elves are number 1. The 3-0-1 Lizardmen are number 2. The Orc that are 3-0-1 are number 2. It's top 4 currently: High Elf, Lizardmen, Orc, Chaos Dwarf. Norse and Dark Elves still have a reasonable chance to move up. Only 2 losses is not terrible. Same with Nurgle, if they can win. With the Nurgle team at this point, just getting ties is probably not good enough if your goal is to make it to the top of the division. I know that's really hard as Nurgle. I am a tie master, and I play Nurgle. I almost said Urgle because that's the name of the team.
Getting into the playoffs with Nurgle on your first is going to be pretty tough.
Yeah.
I think even for the Norse and Dark Elves, they really have to pull out all the stops in this playoffs, because it's a smaller league than it was for us. Top 2 of each league are going, and then only 2 of the next top 3rd place teams are going. So you really got to hope for that top 2 spot.
Yeah, so the Chaos Dwarf and the Norse, and the Dark Elves, there's still a chance, but they're going to need to win like 3 or 4 of their next. They're going to need to win like 3 of their next 4 games basically to have a shot at it. So
someone's going to have to start beating Weeknight Wizard and Amadeus Maxwell and Enditz. So
yeah,
we'll see how that turns out. But it's a good looking division so far. Now we'll move on to America's B because we are so slow.
Yeah, I was going to look at the schedule and see if they're playing each other next, but that's not really that relevant. America's B. Number 1 is Adventuring Bros by Zanza Barbarian.
Yep, another Chaos Dwarf team, so I'll take this one. Only 1 Bull Centaur. Did they sustain a death? No. I wonder if it got stat busted or if they're only running with 1. That's very strange.
Get a second one. He has 4 rerolls.
Get a second one right meow. 4
lot.
rerolls is too many, especially on a team as reliable as Chaos Dwarfs are. They're not as reliable as real dwarfs, but half of your players don't 1 in 9, so you don't need 4 rerolls.
You don't need
them. Is nice. You have enough money right now to buy a Bull Centaur, and you absolutely should. Mighty Blow as a starting skill makes a lot of sense for the reasons I already talked about, and that is all of their development so far. They've got a bunch of Hobgoblin SPP, so they're carrying on the Hobgoblins based on these touchdowns, unless those were admin touchdowns. So that's not that unusual. A lot of people will carry on the Hobgoblin so that you can use the Bull Centaur's strength elsewhere. But yeah, not a whole lot else to talk about there. We've already talked about Chaos Dwarfs in general. So
2-0-2.
their record is 2-0-2. Yeah, pretty average. While you talk about this dwarf team, I'm gonna get more water.
Balthor's Bashers by Viltrus, dwarf team. Speaking of slightly more acceptable or reliable, I mean, let's see. So Troll Slayers with Mighty Blow each. That makes a lot of sense. Troll Slayers are often your blitzers. They have Frenzy. They have Block. The Mighty Blow pickups are great. People will sometimes get Tackle or whatever on them too. You don't necessarily need it because you already have a lot of Tackle, but some people like to do it because they're blitzing with these guys. 1 Guard on a Longbeard. I mean, every single one of these Longbeards is going to get Guard as a first skill because that's how you play Dwarves. These runners both picked up Block, which is really nice. They're often huge targets for your opponents because they are armor 8 without Block, and they're your best way of dealing with the ball. So picking up Block suddenly makes things a lot more reliable. I appreciate that. Squiggy McSquiggy. Is that your new... that's a new account for you, I guess, isn't it? Because you... Yeah, that sucks. That's unfortunate. Thanks for the follow. I hope that we can get it worked out for you. If not, well, I guess I'll have to move my sub to your new account once you get it with affiliate. Anyway, like I was saying, the dwarf runners are often huge targets for the opposing team, so picking up Block on them makes them slightly more sturdy, slightly more reliable. Definitely a really good first option on dwarf runners. Like basically first skill you take. Skills for dwarves are pretty set. It's difficult to deviate from the norm too much. I'd like a bit more. I'd like some more development on these blitzers, but that's generally okay because you've got the development on the troll slayers who can do your blitzing for you. 1, 2, and 1. So you're definitely playing the safe sort of punchy, bashy team style where you often get draws, but this is about as like dead even as it can get.
Yep, and they have never scored more than 1 touchdown, which is just the dwarven way.
Right in my wheelhouse, man. Complementary colors by Elven Union Team by Clay Statue.
Yeah, so another Elven Union. This is our first Elven Union? No, we had one other one.
No,
oh,
I think this is the first one.
I'm just mixing it up with Rel 9D and 9E, which are like 90% pro elves, inexplicably.
That's really unfortunate, Skoogie. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it gets resolved for you. No levels on the blitzers yet, but this catcher has picked up guard, which is awesome because that's a movement 8 guard piece. I mean, the pro elves, you often want the catchers to be actual catchers because you can do stupid plays, especially when your thrower is Agi 5. That's dumb. Oh my god. But he's clearly built them as like sackers, right? He's got one as guard. You can dodge in and put guard on the ball and wrestle down the ball carrier, scoop it up with that Agi 5 thrower, and you can throw it to somebody else. You can't really it won't be as reliable, and you can't throw it into anybody, right? The real strength of these catchers is that when people mark them up with 1,000 players, they can still catch it like normal and then just dodge out and score. You can't really do that if the catchers are doing the ball blitzing. But with an Agi 5 thrower and Agi 4 lineman, it's still really easy to throw it to them and score that way. You just have to be careful with people marking them up, right? You might need more than one scoring threat.
Yep. He's figured out the secret to getting Agi 5 players on Pro Elves, which is to use the David Bowie portrait. So.
And as Squiggy, a very good elf coach, will certainly back me up on having one guard elf makes such a huge difference, especially on movement 8. And this Agi 5 thrower is gross. This player is stupid, and somebody needs to kill it. Otherwise, it will win so many things. Agi is your first level up too, so you know that you can rely on that going forward and just pick up all the other like throwy skills and play that game really dumb is amazing.
Just long bomb it on a 3+ into the end zone. Who gives a shit?
1, 2, and 1 though. Pretty average. That might change a bit now that you have an Agi 5 thrower.
Yeah, who knows how long that player's been there, so...
Nuffles Unfavored, Absinthe-Minded, Wood Elves. I recognize this name from somewhere. I'm not sure why I recognize it. 2 strip ball word answers. Bang. Those are word answers, all right.
Weren't we talking about a team called Nuffles Unfavored in our league?
That's why I think I recognize it. I'm not sure what's going on there.
All right, you talk about the thing. I'm gonna figure this out.
I'm pretty sure we talked about this team in our league, and I'm not sure what's going on there. Oh well. 2 strip ball word answers, very standard. Sometimes you'll see people build them as like more blitzy type players rather than having both as capable ball hawks, but they're named Mr. Ballhog and Mrs. Ballhog, so clearly they have to be the ones dealing with the ball. Catcher has block, which is fine. I mean, it just makes him a little bit more safe. People can't blitz him down as easy if you're trying to do the throw it to the catcher kind of play. Makes him a little bit more reliable. And a kick lineman, totally standard as elves. No tree, which is interesting. There might be a bit of attrition going forward, but hopefully you can keep your word answers healthy, and things should look good if you manage to do that.
I think the idea is you eventually pick up the tree. It's not usually at the very start, or
some people do.
Some people do, but
the whole point of the tree is to make sure your good players don't die. And now that you've got good players, you might want to get a tree so that they don't die.
Fair enough. I think we talked about this team because it's someone that one of our mentees is going to be playing. I think we were talking about it yesterday on stream.
That makes sense. That's why I recognize it.
Because we were commenting on the double strip ball.
Old World Wardens by Tetsuya undead team. Yeah,
Yep,
they're so expensive, so it's hard to get all of the other things that you want. As like you often have to cut down on rerolls if you start with a tree. But some people do it. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's something that people will do sometimes.
Yep, and he's got really good undead development so far. He's got the one skeleton for fouling, hasn't quite gotten Dirty Player on that yet, but he's got the block mummy, a guard white, and a blodge ghoul. So
yeah, that's
all the pieces
really
you need to really bully people.
The thing that I'd like to point out is that the one skeleton is named Mr. Skeletal, which I appreciate a lot.
Yes, not Mr. Skeletal, Mr. Skeletal.
Yeah, Mr. Skeletal. Pray for good bones and calcium. The blocked mummy is really nice. It means you roll doubles as your first level up, and suddenly that you now have an or a strength 5 block, no loner player, which is really good. Really, really good. And then another one getting guard, basically super standard, right? You'll often get guard on mummies. You'll see a lot of people have guard on 2 mummies. Some people will pick up break tackle just because their movement is really bad, and being able to you need to reposition them sometimes, but that's often a second or later skill. Guard on a white, exactly. I mean, that's what's going to happen. You move the whites in to be mobile guard pieces, blitz with the other white, etc., etc. And blodge ghoul, you now have a great ball carrier. Ideally, he picks up sure hands or something, and then that's your ball carrier for the rest of your life. He's going to be very hard to knock over.
And it shows he's doing really well at 3 wins and 1 draw. So really, really strong early undead showing, as you'd expect. So
yeah, undead is very good early on, certainly.
Next up is another lizard team, Lizards Anonymous by Urban Dyer. Ooh, that's an MNG
Lizard
Crocs.
Wizard.
Oh, we talked about this team as well on the stream.
We did, yeah.
MNG'd Crocs really hurts. MNG'd Saurus, I hope it's only an MNG, yeah. On one of your block Saurus is pretty sad.
So yeah, going into your next game with only one block Saurus and being down a Saurus and a Croxagore is gonna be hard. Those are pretty important pieces.
Yeah, definitely. You're gonna have a rough next game, but other than that, team's looking pretty good. Stand firm before guard is a bit unusual. You usually go it's not like he has tentacles, right? So I mean, Prehensile Tail is nice, but you really do want that early guard piece. Yeah. I mean, as we discussed, sometimes it's better than tentacles. But
yeah, that's true. Not usually.
For vampires, it's better, I think.
Yes,
anyway,
that's true.
Skinks, you have 2 with catch. 1 with catch usually is more standard. It helps with the handoffs. 2 is a bit much early on, I think. You'd usually go more sidestep, or even if you were feeling brave, diving tackle.
The other
having
thing
a bench
is that
of 13 is also quite excessive for this TV level. You don't even have a 3rd reroll yet. I would have liked to see. I mean, usually you only have a bench of 11 at this point for lizards, and you have 3 rerolls. That's your first priority, and then maybe you'll pick up another skink as you move up into TV, mid-range TVs. So this is a bit unusual, but it's got good development otherwise.
Yeah, the only thing that I was going to comment on is that skinks don't really have a whole lot of good skill options, so it's hard to build them wrong. Right? There's 2 or 3 skills, like you said, that are relevant. Unless they roll doubles, then they get sidestep or diving tackle or catch, and then they're fired because you just get a new skink and try to get one that ends up. You try to find one to roll block or sure hands. Yeah, they just don't have very many good skills.
2 levels, on the 3rd one, if they don't roll doubles or a stat, they get fired.
Yeah, there's not that many good skills for skinks, so it's not terrible to do that.
No, I just think there are better skills than catch is good to have 1 of. I don't know that catch is good to have 2 of, because as a 1 of you can use him to do better 2-turn or 1-turn attempts, but having 2 is more than I would.
No, that's what I was gonna. What Squiggy said is what I was gonna say. Is that having 2 means you have a spare if you're trying to do silly 1-turn stuff. The downside is there's only 1 Saurus. There's 2 Saurus levels, but one of them is out, and 3 of them have 0 SPP, and you really need block on those Sauruses to start making things quite a bit safer, especially since you only have 2 rerolls. Trying to level up those Saurus will be important for you to make things a lot more reliable in the long run.
Yeah, for sure.
2 1-1, doing well though.
Yep. Next game, I wouldn't expect to go terribly well, but that's life. Sometimes you go down Saurus, and it's a sad.
Hopefully, you can make it 2-1 rather than 2-2. But it's going to be rough down a block Saurus and a Crocs. Fluffy Fighting Force.
This is a new reserve, I believe.
Yes.
No. This
Or
is
no.
never mind. This is one of the top teams. We were talking about this because this is the gutter runner team that your new mentee, who is the reserve, is playing. That's
Yes, that's why we were talking about them.
why. We were looking at all these teams yesterday. So
Yeah. So we talked about this quite extensively yesterday, but that was yesterday when none of you were here. So he's got two gutter runners with block. One of those ones has sidestep. So that's a really nice ball carrying gutter runner, or ball recovery, and then running to space gutter runner. He went with guard on the Storm Vermin first instead of like Mighty Blow, which is fine. You need that guard sometimes to do things as Skaven, certainly. But the Skaven gameplay really changes once you have a killer Storm Vermin. If you can get one with Claw, Mighty Blow, and remove a player a turn, suddenly your game plan becomes a lot different than it is at the start. Thanks for the follow, Toaster. I appreciate it. And he's got two gutter runners with wrestle, who are clearly designed to be the sort of ball hawk, the sacker type players. One lineman with kick, which is great because you can take advantage of the shallow kicks and stuff with your super speedy gutter runners. Looks like a good start for the Skaven. I think you need a couple more skills to make it really good, right? These Storm Vermin need some levels, and you want one or two more spread out among these gutter runners.
Yep, and you really want to fire that AV6 lineman because he's just an SPP pinata, and you're just giving away a number advantage to your opponent.
That's armor 6, especially if somebody has Mighty Blow, then you become armor 5, and you're a snotling at that point without dodge, right? So that's you, especially since you have the money to replace him. That lineman should be glue yesterday. But 3 wins and 1 loss, certainly ahead of the curve there. Hopefully you can keep it up and get a few more levels going on those Storm Vermin in particular, and things will be looking really good for Fluffy Fighting Force.
Yep. And next up is Duodara's Dark Elves, the Malevolent Powers. Malevolent.
Guard on a lineman, which is certainly nice. That's a double. Guard
Mighty Blow and a Blitzer is also a double.
It certainly is. Those are both doubles and both good levels to pick up. Mighty Blow and the Blitzer in particular, because you're going to be hitting with those a lot. And even on elf teams, like I know,
having one or two Mighty Blow, especially on the Blitzers or the Witch Elves, is huge.
Yeah, well,
like being able to do a bit of the bash game to like remove some players, especially when you're playing against other elves, like because that often turns into a bit of a bash fest.
What I was going to say is that even
great.
elves often want a killer player if they can get one, and
sure.
Looks like he's got one started with that Blitzer. I was about to say he's missing a Blitzer, but he's not. He just has his players ordered incorrectly. Move that Blitzer up there. Come on.
He's got a pending level on a lineman, so that would probably be, well, you can do a lot of things. You can go block to have like another pseudo Blitzer. You can go dodge, but I think block is more standard on or block or wrestle is more standard.
Kick is also a good option there.
That's true. He doesn't have kick yet,
and he's not playing the runner game. Not all Dark Elves do, and that's totally fine. Just ball carry on a Blitzer. When you're at G4, you can kind of ball carry on whoever you want. So it doesn't really matter if you have like a dedicated pickup ball type person.
Yeah, and the Dark Elf runner isn't amazing anyway. It's another AV7 piece on a team that really
it's a different way of playing
because
it.
it's AV8 usually. So
it's a different way of playing it in that you do the weird dump off like side passes, and it's more like runny than push your way forward, break through, get in. You can kind of just walk forward and wait for them to hit you and then do the dump off stuff. Like it's just a different way of playing Dark Elves, and some people do it, some people don't.
So they've got 150k in the bank. I'd expect them to pick up another reroll before their next game.
Probably.
And they are 4-0. They are probably the leader of the division, doing exceptionally well. Dark Elves early on are a really strong team, so that's not terribly surprising.
Yep. And we have Fubar.
The two reserves. Fubar Incorporated, which is Tal's kid.
Dwarf team.
I did the admins for these. He got this plus strength Longbeard, which is
a plus strength guard Longbeard. So that's a really annoying piece. That's a armor 9, strength 4, block, thick skull, tackle, guard piece that you just kind of stick wherever, and he will not move and be super annoying and also be guarding stuff.
Yeah, you get him stand
It's a
firm
really good
next,
dwarf.
I imagine, something like that.
If you, probably a good option.
I mean, you could even get break tackle to make him really mobile. There's so many gross things you can do. I mean, he's only got 4 movement, so you don't really want to invest too much into him moving him around. But stand firm is probably a solid get.
Yeah. Another Longbeard with guard, super good. That's how you play dwarves. Get as many of the Longbeards guard as possible. Win game.
Yep. No development other than that, but he just got admin wins, so that's not really surprising.
Troll Slayer's 1 SPP from leveling. Runners 1 SPP from leveling, which is good. I talked about this with the other dwarf team. Your runners are super huge targets because they are the only armor 8, like they're armor 8, and they don't have block. Troll Slayer's armor 8, but they have block. They're armor 8 with no block, and they're basically your only way of dealing with the ball in a reasonable fashion. So they're massive targets. So getting them block as soon as you can to just keep them a little bit more safe is a big deal.
Yep. And he has not played a real game yet, so we'll just move on to Sideshow Games, which is the orc team, Dorkly.
Yep.
This is your mentee, so I'll let you talk about it.
It's orcs. he's got
moving on.
Yeah, he's got Mighty Blow Blitzer, which is fine. He has no guard yet, which is the downside. If you're going to go Mighty Blow on a Blitzer first, I think I'd like to take guard on this Black Orc first. But it's fine. Block on Black Orcs is also totally acceptable. He's got 1 that's about to level. He's got 2 Blitzers that are 1 SPP from leveling. So if you could get a level on both these guys this game, that'd be amazing. 1 probably wants to get guard, because you need guard as orcs, really. And it has to go either on Blitzers or Black Orcs. And Blitzers are generally kind of a more ideal target for it because movement 6, but Black Orcs are harder to move. It's kind of a debate. One of the linemen picked up block, which is fine. They're going to get thrown on the line a lot. Block just probably keeps them more alive, more annoying on the line. These are your 3 line players all the time, so you don't really care about them too much because they're going to get punched. But armor 9 block means that he's less likely to go down, or less likely to die at least, and that's always nice. You are very close to getting a few really nice levels here, right? Like 1 SPP on a Black Orc, 1 SPP on each of those Blitzers. If you can pull those off, you'll be looking really good going into the next few matches.
Yeah, the admin wins were kind to him when it came to Blitzer SPP.
Certainly were.
Not so much with Black Orc, but pretty nice. And now I guess we can move on to the leaderboard, as that coach hasn't played a real game yet.
Yep.
Unsurprisingly, the Undead are at the top.
Yep, and we also have the Skaven, who are doing pretty well. Definitely doing well there. The Lizardmen are also at 2-1-1. And then as we go down, it kind of people are more and more even with the 2-0-2, 2-0-2, 2-1-1.
Oh, Duadar was also a reserve, right? So he's only played 1 game as well.
Nope, we have not made it to Europe B, Soxy. We are in America's B currently.
Okay.
Unsurprisingly, Undead are winning, but they're not too far ahead, right? Lizardmen, Wood Elves, Chaos Dwarf, all the way down to the top 5. Even the Elven Union team and the Dwarf team, if they just keep winning from this point on, have a reasonable chance of going forward. The Elven Union and Dwarves are going to need to win a lot to make it up there. The Dark Elves, unfortunately, are probably going to have a hard time going forward with that many losses in terms of making playoffs.
Reserves,
but it's not out of reason for any one of these top 7 teams to be top 3 by the end of it, depending on how well the matches go. But no one's out yet.
Yeah, and I mean, even the reserves have a chance, and we're happy to have them regardless. They're really
you were a reserve
heroes of the division coming in. Yeah, I mean, I was a reserve. I almost made playoffs. Ben ruined that.
You're welcome.
Jerk. And now I'm stomping everyone in the minors. So
that's true.
That's how it goes.
America's C, best division.
It is objectively true.
This is the division that we played in when we were in the college league.
It's true.
TV 1000 Chaos, so probably relatively new. Lake Town Herd by
no, they just took a bit of bashing.
Flarnock Ander. And they worked out to be exactly 1000 TV anyway. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, because they're MNG. They have an MNG'd Chaos Warrior.
Oh, that's sad. Not a whole lot to speak about here. One Beastman picked up Sure Hands first. Totally reasonable. People will often you need a ball carrier on Chaosy teams. People will often pick up block or something for your first 1 or 2 levels and hope that just in the hopes that somebody rolls plus agi, and then you immediately give them Sure Hands and make them your ball carrier from that point out. And worst case, they have block, and that's not a bad skill to have as a ball carrier. But He's only one level away from getting that, or one SPP away from getting that, and with sure hands, he's probably going to get it pretty easily in the next game. So that's good.
Unfortunately, he's got his SPP spread pretty thin. Chaos has this problem sometimes. They don't really have positionals. So you just have Beastmen and Chaos Warriors. So everyone ends up doing a bit of everything. They're all Ag3. So
block on the Chaos Warrior is nice because you finally have a slightly more reliable piece. Like Chaos Warriors, you start with 0 skills other than horns, which isn't really a skill. It's good certainly, but it's not a skill you take very often unless you're a Skaven gutter runner that rolls a double.
Exactly. I would probably fire Clompers. The Niggle is a liability, and on top of that, if he gains any SPP, that's just SPP down the drain. You don't want to level up a Niggled player. So
you have the money to replace him too.
Is kind of a liability. I wouldn't replace him probably. You're going to be down players no matter what. So like, what's one extra loner? I like keeping some money in reserve for Chaos in case you lose one of those Chaos Warriors early on. But eventually he should be replaced for sure, and he should be fired now, I think.
And he's very close, right? He's got 3, 3, 5, 3. Like there's a lot of Beastmen that are about to level up, and then suddenly this team becomes a lot more reliable, more block. You can get Mighty Blow. You could get Claw on one of them if you want.
And he has 1, 1, and 2, which is the usual sort of Chaos start. They have really rough time. Second only to Nurgle probably in terms of being a weak team starting outside of the stunty teams.
Because you have no skills. But you're probably 1 or 2 games away from suddenly having 4 or 5 more skills. So very, very close to getting going there, certainly. Peaceful Massagers.
By Manflesh. I remember this team and this coach.
Similar thing,
more
right?
Developed.
Not a whole lot more.
No, not a whole lot. Less beaten up, certainly, and has a theme in mind for his Beastmen.
Double wrestle.
They will wrestle you and massage you nicely.
I guess. I'm a little weird. This is a little creepy. I don't want to be wrestled to the floor and massaged gently by like a horny Beastman. But okay.
Yeah, I agree, Squiggy. Like a couple of vanity passes. Ag3 vanity passes are pretty easy to pull off.
Yeah.
I think he should prioritize getting a couple levels out of his next game, especially because he's unlikely to win down a Chaos Warrior. Like, you're already disadvantaged by playing Chaos.
My ball carrier is likely to get extra arms next. He's very close. 2 wrestle, 1 block. Almost all of your unusual. Yeah, it's weird, but that's the theme that he's going for. So cool. If you're having fun, go for it. All of the Chaos Warrior SPP basically is on 1 Chaos Warrior, which is a little sad. I'd rather have 2 leveled Chaos Warriors at 6, or like 1 at 6 and 1 at 5, rather than 1 at 10 and 1 at 1.
I feel like this is just 2 MVPs. No, it's only 1 MVP and a touchdown and a Kaz.
Okay. Oh, I always forget that Chaos Warriors are Ag3 because I'm so used to playing Nurgle where they're Ag2.
You mostly just don't run on them because they're movement 5 as opposed to 6. So,
good start. The wrestle's a little bit weird, but that's how you're going for it, and you're doing well. So 3 wins, 1 draw. So it's hard to fault you for the wrestle there, certainly.
And next up is the True Blue, who has been begging us to talk about his team, the Ghoulbusters, forever. And it's quite a team. He's got 3 guard blitzers, 1 with plus strength. He's got a Mighty Blow tackle blitzer for doing the actual blitzing most of the time.
Very human-y. Like this, other than the plus strength, if I was like, give me your average human team, this is probably what it would look like. You've got a lineman with kick. You've got 3 blitzers who have picked up guard, and then you've got 1 as your like actual blitzing piece. Thankfully, one of those guard blitzers has also picked up strength, which is awesome because now he's way harder to move, and he's also a lot more likely to be able to bully people around, especially with all those extra guard pieces holding on nearby.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of what's the deal, man, you wanted us to talk about your team, and you didn't pick 2 of your levels.
Yeah, what's the deal, man?
Get fucked.
The catcher. Some people will take if you can roll. Doubles, people will often take guard on the catcher just because it's a movement 8 dodge guard piece, and they're strength 2, so it's a good way of using them on like in a different way because the strength 2 is kind of a pretty serious handicap. But you already have 3 guard. You don't necessarily need that if you're actually playing a sort of pass catch type game. Block
Okay, so
is
apparently
probably a
it's
good
going to
option.
be DP and guard, he says.
Oh, if you got doubles, then yeah, like I said, guard is a pretty good option. DP on alignment is perfectly fine. Humans, they have 50k linemen. You stomp on stuff. Perfect.
Yep.
Especially since you roll doubles, yeah, I'd take the guard. Another good option is like block. Just so that they're blodge and much more annoying to knock over considering their strength 2. It's pretty easy for people to get blocks on them. So if you're actually using them to catch, they'll often be targets.
Unless he's throwing with someone other than the thrower, as the thrower has made. Oh, the thrower's only been around for 1 match, so it looks like he's either a new purchase or a replacement for a dead one. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally fine. If you're doing the catch game, getting block is probably a good idea because they're strength 2 and pretty big targets, easy to remove. So the block makes them safer. 5-0-0 though, so bam. That's...
Yep, doing damn well.
And I certainly think I would credit the 3 guard blitzers to a chunk of that. I would imagine they're probably likely carrying this team really hard because those pieces are so good. Three block pieces are so
wins
good.
Games.
Certainly
That's
does.
how it is.
Bifrost Guardians by Urwolf.
This is Purple Saber's mentee, I think. Okay, yeah. So it looks like his old thrower got killed by Lake Town.
Yeah, that's sad. Not a whole lot to talk about here. Sure hands on a runner, which makes sense. He's likely picking up and or running the ball, and you pick up sure hands to protect against strip ball and also to make the reroll free rather than having to spend a team reroll on it. And kick lineman, totally fine. People often pick up kick. You don't need to. But as Norse in a team where you want to be in
it's a tempo
control.
skill kick, so it's all about controlling the pitch, controlling the flow of the game. So it makes a lot of sense to pick up kick on a Norse team.
Yeah, especially a lot of teams will pick up kick as their first skill. Some teams don't need it. Some teams won't pick it up as their first skill. But Norse is definitely a team where it's a good team to pick up early. If you
Lizards never get kick. That's just life.
Some chaos and some Nurgle teams won't get it ever. I generally don't, but you can. It's not bad. 2-0-2. Dead even.
Yep. Don't like the lack of shadowing, but maybe he's not in on that meta.
He doesn't have a player named 300 though, so it's
It's true.
Not a whole lot of SPP on the Ulfs or the Berserker yet. You also need to pick up a second Berserker at some point.
Sure. Could have had one die. I mean, this is Norse after all.
Yeah, but those are like really good players, and they're 0-0-0, and like those are people that are going to do a lot of the hard work in terms of removing the other players and stuff. So, like currently, you're playing the early Norse's super reliable game where everybody has block. But once other people start to pick up skills or their own block, it's going to be harder unless you can get some SPP on the Ulfs and Berserkers because they're going to be the positionals that matter later once other people can deal with your block.
And next up are the Ivy League Louts by Crag Doombrow. Pretty battered dwarf team.
I like the names though; they're so very poncy. James Covington Salem the Fourth. Yeah, one of the runners is missed next game, which is a little sad because then you only have one runner, and it's mostly about redundancy, right? Now that runner has a huge target on his head because once he's down, it's much harder for you to actually deal with the ball. We're going to look at all the teams in every division at some point. Bling. Thanks for the follow. Jorior, if I pronounce that correctly. If we've already looked at your team, this will be up on YouTube at some point, and it'll also be on a Twitch VOD if you can't wait the day or so that it'll take me to get up on YouTube. Troll Slayers are looking good. Nothing yet, but they are 1 SPP each away from leveling. It shouldn't be too hard to get, and then you can pick up like Mighty Blow, basically. As we've talked about before, dwarves are the first few skill choices, unless you roll something weird, basically pick themselves. These two guys are likely to pick up guard. This guy will pick up guard, but he's missed next game. You want these runners to pick up block, but being out one for your next game is sad because now you have a giant target on the face of Chauncey Gardner, because if he goes down, then it's going to be much harder for you to win the game without any ball handling skills. 1 draw and 3 losses, though, so that's a little sad. And, might be due to them getting battered, as we mentioned. Hopefully, once you get a little more guard, We get 2 players that are about to get it, at least 3 if you count the Miss Next Game guy. And once you get a little more guard, suddenly things become a lot easier as dwarves because you can win those scrums. Early on dwarves, it's about outlasting the other team and not dying ever. But once you pick up some guard, you can actually start to bully people around a lot more. And
yeah, I mean, it turns out an endless wall of guard is incredibly frustrating to play against.
Certainly is.
So hopefully that goes better once they get some levels. Next up is a Blitzy Rix by K-Pond, who is Cap on KAP on the Discord.
A Richard and Mortimer reference.
Yes, only the most intellectual of us can truly understand it.
I appreciate that the runner is named Birdman, though. I like that.
Yes,
should be Bird Person, though, shouldn't it? Well, the character in Rick and Morty is named Bird Person.
He is, yes. So we have guard, which is really nice, and dodge, so nice, mobile, agile.
Surprised there wasn't a block, but I mean, I guess that he needed the guard came because of doubles, and guard is so good on elves that you just want to take it whenever you get a chance to.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's good, and then dodge is great because you're AG4, play up to your strengths. He'll likely pick up block next if he gets the chance to. Speaking of doubles, Rick 4 has also gotten a double and picked up Mighty Blow, which is amazing for elves, as we've talked about. You generally always want a killer piece, even on elf teams, and you've got one started. Sometimes you like it to be your witch elves if they can get doubles, but you don't have witch elves yet.
So,
you generally
I mean,
don't do the start
uncommon.
with the runner.
Yeah, when you do this start, you actually often get leader before a reroll, but given that he got guard, that kind of changed the game plan. You don't really want a leader guard piece because that's a dead piece. Yeah. So yeah, this makes a lot of sense. He's going for like the block start.
Two block linemen. Yeah, like we've said before, Dark Elf linemen always get block, wrestle, or dodge generally first. One might get kick initially, so he's gone for the block, and that's fine. 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, so slightly ahead of things there, doing good. Hork and Beans, Das Doge.
I forget who this is. It's someone pretty active on the server. I just don't remember what his username is.
I like the name Hork and Beans, though. That's fun.
Yeah.
Also, Large Dave, block. Fast Dave, and Dave are most of his players.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, well, he's doing the thing that we've talked about, right? Once you get block on a black orc, you kind of have to get block on all your black orcs to make them. And you see what you can already see it happening in the thing that I've talked about, in that these 2 black orcs have 8 SPP and the other 2 have 0.
It's small hamster. Okay.
If you make blocks on these black orc, if you're going to make black orc blocks, you'll do it with the ones that have block first because it's safer, and eventually you run out of blocks to make, or you turn over, or your players are done, or whatever. So your first 2 black orc blocks of a turn always end up being the guys with block, and then the later 2 ones don't get to hit stuff, and then they don't level because they don't get SPP. So that's why. Weeknight Wizard, thanks for following. I appreciate your name a lot. I talked about that earlier. I like the pun, sort of. I don't know if it's a pun, but I like it. Thankfully, he's got dodge on a blitzer, so that gets to become your ball carrier. You have blodge now. That's amazing. In 2 SPP, he's going to pick up sure hands probably, unless he gets plus agi or something. And this is your ball carrier, and you can once he gets sure hands, then you can fire this thrower.
You could turn him into a mobile guard piece too if you wanted to keep the thrower around, but
you can't because he's less movement than other players.
I know he sucks.
You can't turn him into a mobile guard piece because he's not mobile. He's worse at moving than the blitzers are.
No, I meant Fast Dave. You could turn Fast Dave into a mobile guard.
Oh, I thought you meant the thrower.
No, fuck the thrower.
No, I would say you get sure hands on Fast Dave, and then he is now your ball carrier, and you don't need the thrower anymore, and you can fire him. Orc teams will often pick up a thrower initially. It's certainly good. Having early sure hands access is great. But then once they're just not good, really, right? They're movement 5, they're armor 8, compared to movement 6, armor 9, free block of blitzers. So once people get a blitzer leveled up, they'll often make the blitzer the ball carrier, and they'll drop the thrower. So we might see that happen, we might not. Some people like the thrower. Having the pass is always a fun option. It can bail you out of a jam if you really need to do something silly. But they are a little bit of a liability, right? You need to be careful about them because movement 5 armor 8.
Yep, but Mole Hamster's been doing pretty well. He's got 3 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. I believe the 1 loss was his most recent game to the True Blue, who is undefeated.
He also has a wrestle lineman, which is fine. Your orc linemen are always going to be in the line because you have so many positionals that you only ever have 3 linemen at a time, basically. So they will be on the line. Having wrestle is good because even if they have block, it brings them down and it keeps your guy more alive.
Yep, and if he hits the floor, you can kick him, which elves or orcs are pretty happy to do. So next, Under Empire Night Terror is the next team from Thomas the Tank.
I like the name as well there. I'm a Thomas the Tank Engine aficionado, and I appreciate the name. 2-block werewolves is awesome. Suddenly they become way more reliable, right? Those frenzy claw blitzes are terrifying to most teams, but before you have block, they're also terrifying for you.
Yes. Rookie werewolves are very cool, but they're a huge liability. Movement 8 is so nice, though. Now with block, you can carry the ball with them. You can blitz with them reliably. They're really, really much better once you get that. And once you get dodge on them, they become blodge pieces, even better.
Yeah.
Ideally, eventually you roll a double for Mighty Blow or a stat up, or you often will recycle the werewolves if they're not getting the level ups they need or the skills they need. But for now, looking really good.
Yeah, the initial few games with Necro until those werewolves get blocked, like you really want to blitz with that claw frenzy piece, but it's so dangerous because you don't have block, and that it's an extra chance to turn over when they follow up forcibly. So it's much nicer now that they have block, way more reliable. Flesh Golem picked up block, which is awesome as well.
Yeah, this is a normal for Flesh Golem, so that's not unusual.
No, but it's good having the level on the Flesh Golem, right?
Yeah, they're hard to level, so.
They're stand firm strength 4 pieces that are super annoying. They're reliable in the way that they don't have loner or anything, right? Like, you stick them on people that you don't want to move, and then they never move because they're thick skull, armor 9, regen. Not that keeps them on the pitch,
firm,
but
exactly.
stand firm. And the block just makes that even better.
Yep. He's got a white with Mighty Blow. Often you'll see people go guard first, but maybe he did it this way because he's got 12 SPP on him. So 2 Kazs is another level up. Pretty easy
and then
to
you
get.
can get the guard pretty quickly. The other white is also 5 of 6, so that's going to be guard once he levels.
Once he stops being MNG'd. You've got a minus movement zombie. I consider firing him.
He's going to sit on, like, he's probably not going to move more than 3 squares in a turn ever anyway, because he's going to be on the line for most of it.
The problem with 3 movement is if you're using zombies to tie up people, which is what you often want to do, if they knock them down and don't follow, you can't get back onto them without a GFI. So you might be willing to make that GFI, but that's a 2+ you still need to do now. So it forces a roll.
Well, you can't replace him now. I don't know if... because if you fire him, you don't actually...
I would keep him for now because you want the bench. Oh, wait, no, you don't. No, because
the white's also miss next game.
Yeah, I would fire him and just eat the rookie zombie.
Yeah, probably. But you can't afford to replace him yet, but that's fine. You just put him on the line anyway. 1 dodge ghoul. You probably want to pick up a second one at some point. Don't have it yet. Don't have the money for it.
One early on is standard. I wouldn't go.
Yep, but you need to get another one at some point. Is what I'm saying.
Eventually, yeah. Like many games down the road, though. For now, you're doing pretty good.
2-0, undefeated as well. Just 2 of those are draws instead of wins. So also doing well.
You talk about Lil Sebastian's Nurgle
Ixul,
team.
thanks for the follow. Kids Bop presents the Y2K. I love the team. I love the team name, coached by Little Sebastian. Nurgle, what do we got here? Slightly less beaten up than the Nurgle team we looked at before. They've picked up a second Pestigore now, and they've picked up a 3rd reroll, which is great. Nurgle, the starting build is basically set in stone for you. You start with 4 warriors, a beast, 1 Pestigore, rotters, and 2 rerolls. You really want that 3rd reroll as fast as possible because with no skills anywhere, Nurgle can be pretty unreliable. So you need to get that 3rd reroll to make it a little bit better while you're waiting for the skills, and then you pick up the Pestigores because they're your ball handlers. They're often your blitzers. The movement 6 is the big deal. Block on a Nurgle Warrior is great. You got some SPP on these 2, Freakaleak and Ignition Remix, who are very close to... they're both MVP away from leveling up, and you can either start one off as Mighty Blow, or you can get more block or more guard. People play Nurgle Warriors in 2 ways, one of which is murderous monsters because strength 4, and you get like block, Mighty Blow, claw. some of them will be like immovable pillars, because the Disturbing Presence and Foul Appearance, while not like skills you'd ever want to pick up, once they get more of their own skills, they start to matter a lot. Those 1 in 6s can certainly frustrate the other team, and the Foul Appearance or the Disturbing Presence suddenly makes passing potentially a lot harder for other teams. So you want your Nurgle warriors to not fall over. You want them to be big pillars that get in the way and anchor your team. So like block, stand firm are often good options. Guard. I personally am building 2 as kind of punchy ones, and then 2 as block, stand firm, guard pieces. Nothing on the Pestigors yet, which is unfortunate, because these guys have to do a lot of the work on the team. They're the ball carriers. They're often the blitzers. So they're going to need to get a bit of SPP going. This Rotter should be glue. I would deal with a rookie Rotter, probably 4, 5,
Yeah, I mean,
6,
a niggled
7,
Rotter
8,
on it.
9,
A
10.
niggled decay piece is not
Yeah,
something
you're
you
already
want.
not going to have a bench, so I would fire him and just take the loner Rotter and put him on the line or whatever. But a niggled decay is awful. This Rotter is interesting. Kick is fine as Nurgle. We've talked about it before. They don't need it. But block and kick is a little weird on the same piece, because the block is often going to go on the line just to be annoying and not likely to die. And once you get all of your positionals, you only have 2 Rotters on the field at a time generally. So you're going to have to put your Rotters on the field, and then kick doesn't work because they'll be on the line. And Rotters will often pick up Dirty Player as their skill and just foul people until they die. It's certainly not bad. It just means that your block piece now can't start on the line if you want to use kick. And you're at some point, once you've picked up the rest of your Pestigors, he's going to have to start on the line. So by then he'll probably be dead, because that's how Rotters work. So that's not terrible. But
Yep.
you know, he is going to die at some point.
And he is having a bit of a rough time, as you'd expect from Nurgle. It's another 1, and 2 record. So
Very hard to start with Nurgle. Once they get some skills, they're so good. These skills, the Foul Appearance and the Disturbing Presence, they add to your TV, which means you can only buy so many people at the start, and they're kind of irrelevant at the very start of the game. Once you get more skills, then they start to become nice little bonuses on top of everything else. But they make it hard for your team to start. But once they get going, they're so good. So, you know, stick it out for the first season, and that's what happened to me. My Nurgle team is looking a lot better now than it was before, so you'll get there eventually.
Exactly. And so now we'll look at the leaderboard. Up at the top, as you'd expect, is the True Blue with his 5-0 record.
Yep. That's
clear
going to be
winner
hard to
for
catch
first.
up to.
Das Doge, Mole Hamsters in second with 3-1-1, and then we've got a bunch of teams with 2 wins and a couple of draws. So
This is likely
those
to
teams
be
are
a
all-
fight for second, I think.
Yeah, it's similar to our division, I think.
Yeah, one is basically locked up, even if he starts to lose at this point, based on how the other teams are going to set. I haven't looked at the schedule, so I don't know this for sure, but in like a 10-team division, having 5 or 6 wins is basically top 3. So you're very likely to stay at the top, and this is probably a race for second between all these 2-win teams now down to the Norse. The Orc, Dwarf, and Nurgle team are going to have a hard time getting up there, certainly, but don't give up yet. Focus on your team development, get some more points in there, and you can always climb the ladder too. You're not out of it yet, but you're not likely to make the playoffs probably. It's always possible. It's always possible, but it's not likely at this point.
Yep, you'll still get into the postseason, and there's always minors and stuff later on.
Yep, we do postseason for the people who don't make it, so plenty more games to go.
Yeah, I beat Ben's Nurgle team last week with my Lizards, and as that game gave him Claw Mighty Blow, that's probably the last time I can expect to beat him reliably. So Nurgle comes online eventually, and they're pretty terrifying.
Europe A, into the Europe divisions now. Europe. So we have no like admin teams here. We can just jump right in. Last at the Disco, Press Wilfa.
Yeah, another really active member in the college Discord. See him all the time. He's got a Wrestle Witch Elf, so he is going for a bit of a sacker with her. She's a bit of a ball hawk.
Yep.
A dodge, a tackle, and a Mighty Blow Blitzer. A block lineman, a kick lineman, and a dodge lineman. So variety. I should say.
Those are three. Those are 3 of the 4 skills we said Dark Elf linemen will often take as their first skill. So clearly he's just trying out all of them. Hey, thanks for coming, True Blue. Yeah, and got a double on one of the blitzers, which is awesome. Picked up tackle on one of them to be the reliable dodge puncher. And then a blodge one who's likely to be your ball carrier since you don't have a runner. And then a ball hawk witch elf. Looks good to me.
The only thing I don't like about the Wrestle Witch Elf is that means you're putting a V7 piece on the ground in a cage, or in some kind of a
Board answers do it sometimes. Or gutter runners.
Gutter runners, you're more happy to lose. If a Witch Elf goes down, well, you're not happy to lose a gutter runner, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about the Wrestle Witch Elf.
I mean, like, block is safer, but it's certainly not as reliable in terms of removing the ball from people because ball carriers will often have block.
It's true. And he is 4-0, so what do I know?
Nothing. Vermin of Metal, beer can. Another Skaven team, one with 2 throwers this time. One of them has accurate. I like it. Throwing on the Skaven. It's fun. And he's straight up going for the 1-turn gutter runner play with sprint. Not quite there. I think you need 1+ movement to make it work, like naturally 1 turn. But once you do,
12 is the maximum any player can get, without plus movement. Like gutter runners are the fastest player, so the pitch is 13. That said, getting 1 push is incredibly easy for gutter runners.
Yeah.
So,
and 2 heads is awesome because that's suddenly 2+ dodges basically anywhere. That makes your dodge tackle zones are a thing.
If you're dodging through like a backfield setup, then it's super easy to get through.
He got horns on one of them, so he's happened to get doubles on so many of his players. It's great.
Yeah, really lucky.
Horns on the gutter runner is great. It's more reliable than Dauntless against strength 3 pieces. It's going to still be hard to knock the ball free sometimes because you don't have the wrestle yet. But his next skill is going to be wrestle. His next skill is going to be strip ball, and then he'll basically just be a super, ball hawk machine. It's going to be hard without wrestle for now, but you need doubles for mutation. So I'd absolutely pick up the horns now when you can get it, and then that just dictates what that player is going to do.
Exactly. Another guard first on a Storm Vermin.
No, it's not. It's not bad.
It's not bad. It's a bit unusual. You tend to go Mighty Blow and hope for the doubles for Claw, but guard is also good. Guard wins games.
And it helps with the ball sacking that you're certainly going to be doing with the gutter runner.
Yep. He's got a pretty average record, 2 wins, 2 losses, so probably middle of the pack.
Kick lineman, but everybody will have a kick lineman at some point. Amazons. Exactly. We don't see many Amazon teams.
I think this is our first, possibly only Amazon team.
Springfield FC, coached by Sir Trevor McD. Look at all that dodge. Amazons.
Yep.
Starting with 4 blotch players is kind of silly early on.
They are overcosted, but yes. They get strength access, so that's their the nice thing about them. He's got a guard catcher, which is a double, I believe. Yep.
So that's why he picked it up.
Amazons will often guard spam because that's how they keep up with people in the as they develop. So they just really want to get involved in punch. With all this
early on, they abuse the blodge, and then later they abuse the blodge and guard once they get it.
Exactly. Because once everyone is tackled, the blodge becomes a lot less reliable.
Yep. As we've talked about, block on catchers is great because it keeps them alive a bit better. If you're dumping them into the end field to throw balls to, they're big targets for blitzes, and the block will keep them on their feet more often. Plus, blodge is good.
Plus movement blitzer is really nice. When you've got a team of 6 movement across the board, movement 7 can be a bit of a boon.
Yep. 3-0-1, so doing well as well. Let's talk about Nurgle, and then you can talk about Lizardmen while I run off for a second.
Sure, I'm just choking a bit, so go ahead.
Power of Plague, coached by Poobles. Nurgle team.
Nurgle team.
I like it. Not a whole lot of development yet. They've picked up the 3rd reroll, which is good. I talked about that earlier. You're very restricted in your team roster as Nurgle. You need to pick up, and none of them have skills, so you need the rerolls to be reliable. But you can only really start with 2, so getting a 3rd one right away is really good, and next you'll probably pick up a 2nd Pestigore. Literally no development except for a plus strength Pestigore, which we've talked before about how is really good because
How is really good.
how is really good because now they're strength 5 when you blitz, and whether you decide to make that guy a strength 4 ball carrier who is hard to knock over and can blitz free really easily, or if you make him a blitzing killing piece, or if you just make him a guard piece, those are all really good. The guard piece is less good probably on the Pestigore than it would be on a Beastmen, because your Nurgle warriors are likely to be your guard pieces. They're just slightly harder to knock over with that foul appearance, so building them as your guard is just better.
You don't get as many Pestigores, so you've got to specialize them a bit more.
So I think he'll likely be a killer or a ball carrier, but that's all the developments so far. You'll get another Pestigore as soon as you can, and you've got 3 Chaos Warriors who are very close to leveling, so hopefully you get those soon, and you can pick up your guard or your block or your mighty blow or your claw or whatever you're going to start with.
Yep, and he is 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses.
Nurgle.
So. Nurgle.
That's how Nurgle start. It sucks,
right,
but
I'll talk about Dr. Bones. You go use the washroom.
I'm going to go up on... Put it up on the team screen for you, and I'll be right back.
Sure. So the team is called So the Skinks Don't Come, coached by Dr. Bones. Started off, he's got 2 block source. Nice development early on. Some people will go Mighty Blow first, but block is the safer option for sure. Really standard lizard development in general. The movement busted Saurus really sucks. I would keep him around for a little while. Movement 5 isn't that bad. It's better than most strength 4 pieces, certainly, so it's not terrible. But he's definitely going to get fired when you can afford to hire a new one. I might get a reroll first, but really depends on how you prioritize things. At least he's 0 SPP, so that's kind of nice. 2 sidestep skinks, again, really standard stuff. Close to another level up on one, you'll probably give him something like Sure Feet to make him a better ball carrier, or maybe diving tackle. Sidestep diving tackle can be really annoying to stick on a dodging piece, or the ball carrier forces them to block a skink, and sure, the skink is going to die eventually, but pals are hard to find sometimes, and with sidestep you can stick to players really nicely, so it can be really good. So far his record is 2-2, so 2 wins, 2 losses, bit of an average record. Lizards can be strong early, but they can also struggle before they can get the 3rd reroll, especially if they suffer early losses, so this might paint the story of how this has gone so far. Had a bit of a rough go.
Yeah, it looks like it. Missing scheme or movement busted Saurus. 2-0-2 though, so they've not done terribly despite that.
And I was just about to move on to the Skaven, so good timing.
I'm good at this. Rat Street Boys, coached by Malcolm DW.
This is the Skaven roster I'm used to seeing.
Yeah, they've lost a few linemen, it seems. But they've... and they have no development really to speak of other than 1 pending level and a gutter runner. Little sad that they've been beaten up this much, and they've probably lost players that had levels or something. But sometimes that is the Skaven life. It can be hard to get going if you don't get skills before players start dying. Especially since he's taken 4 losses so far, so it's probably hard for him to get levels and stuff on things. So.
Yep, so he's down to 2 gutter runners, 2 storm vermin. He does have a level up on the gutter runner, so that's probably going to be block or wrestle, unless it's a double or a stat up.
And his losses haven't been pointless. He's gotten touchdowns, so he's still getting some SPP, which is nice.
Yeah, it's not all bad news. So hopefully he will have a little bit more development next time we look at the teams, and definitely want to pick up that Apo, I'd say.
Yeah, probably a good idea. Speaking of teams that we don't see very often, Knobbly Knights by Lufish, the Bretonians.
As soon as I see the frog, I assume it's Lizardmen, but yeah, I suppose the frog also applies to the Bretonians.
Sir Nidong Dongington, Sir Lubzadong, Sir Dingledang of Donger.
It's beautiful.
Bretonians. No, he's missing a blocker, but you don't always pick up you can't get all the positionals at the start as Bretonians generally, because the blitzers are so expensive. So he'll get another blocker at some point. He'll likely also get another reroll. No levels really, other than block and a lineman. That's fine. And I say linemen, I mean peasants. They're filthy peasants. I don't like how Cyanide changed their names. They should be peasants and yeomen and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, it's true. The blocker, he's only got 1 blocker, and he hasn't sustained any deaths. I wonder what the deal with that is.
It's hard you can't start with all the positionals as Bretonians.
That's true. He could just not have made enough money, or he could have had a couple that were stat busted, something like that.
Yeah, and the starting with the wrestle is amazing. You get wrestle, you wrestle them down, and then you stomp on them with your 40k peasants. It's awesome. So they're nice, and the blitzers are the stars of the team. Absolutely, they carry the team. They sort of play. They do that weird dark elf thing that we were talking about before, where you'll have like weird sort of rugby sideways type passes to get the ball free and then running forward because they have catch. But none of them have throw, and they're agi 3, so you kind of want to stick to short passes rather than long passes because it's hard to actually succeed on the long passes. The Dauntless and the Block make them great blitzers as well, and you kind of have to build them into all the different pieces. You'll often have a sure hands one, you might have one more dedicated to catching, you'll have a blitzer one, but no development yet. But 2 players are very close to getting it, so getting something going on those blitzers is key because they are the stars of your team.
For sure. He's had a bit of a rough go at it though, with 2 draws, 2 losses. Like we said, it's a pretty tough team to play early on. So
they're not they're pretty good early in that they have the block and the wrestle and all the fend and stuff, but they're a hard team to play right. They're very different than a lot of the other sort of Blood Bowl teams. So it's not necessarily a beginner friendly team if Bluefish doesn't have a ton of experience.
Exactly. And next up is the White Dwarfs, Mutated Ninja Dwarfs, which is a Chorf team.
Mutated Ninja Dwarfs.
Oh, he's got a Blodge Bull Centaur.
Really, that's so
nice.
good.
Yeah.
That's terrifying. Blodge on strength 4, movement 9. Ugh.
Yeah, then you get break tackle. So suddenly you can do a lot of crazy stuff once you have break tackle. It's really
guard on a cast dwarf. They're dwarves, sort of. So guard is basically what you take, unless you do the mighty blow and hope for claw thing. That is the difference, is that they have the chance of mutations.
Options, really, but he's definitely getting most of his SPP on the Bull Centaurs, which is not unusual, but also quite nice because until they get block and break tackle, they're not super reliable. But once they have those skills, suddenly they become powerhouses.
Yeah.
So
the other argument is that with 6 Chaos Dwarf blockers and a double being a 1 in 6, you're likely that one of them gets doubles on their first level up, and then you just take Claw and immediately make that into your Mighty Blow piece.
It's true, though. Just Claw sucks.
Yeah, well, it's not bad, but it's not
terrible.
Good.
It's just not my favorite.
4 wins.
He's doing really well.
Good.
Yeah, 4 wins. I remember when he joined the league, so I'm glad he's doing well with his team so far.
Worm Fodder, coached by Mr. Plasmid, the undead team. I see him in the Discord quite often too. He's got the Doom guy as his avatar.
Yeah, exactly.
Movement Ghoul and Sure Hands. That's great. Movement 8 is amazing. Sure Hands on a Ghoul is a good choice in levels. You got Block on another one to make him less punchable. Also good.
Yep, and that's about to level, so you can do a couple different things with him once he's got the Blodge. Makes the Ghoul a little bit more reliable, a little less easy to punch into dust, as ghouls tend to end up as.
If you get doubles, it would be a good option for guard. Movement 7 Blodge guard would be really nice, but you need doubles for that.
Yep, he got Stand Firm in the Mummies first. Usually you go guard first, but I see why he would want to be Stand Firm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's often the second skill they pick up, it turns out. You really want them to be the walls holding up the players, getting in those Mighty Blow hits that people are so afraid of.
Yeah,
so
they start with Mighty Blow.
Dodges, so
yeah, forcing dodges and keeping yourself on players so that you're guaranteed to get the Mighty Blow hit is certainly helpful. Guard can make the sort of playstyle a little bit easier, but with a movement 8 Ghoul with Sure Hands, you don't necessarily need to do the sort of punchy type gameplay. You can do a lot of running with that really good Ghoul you have, so that the Stand Firm would help out in that way, I think.
Yeah, no white levels yet, which is a bit unfortunate, but I assume he's going to pick one up soon. Usually build guard. One into a mobile guard, one into a killer. We talked about this a bunch in the college chat. He uses skeletons instead of zombies as his line. This isn't as good for the line blocks in particular because zombies are armor 8, so they hold together a bit more. You often keep skeletons around for fouling or for marking because they have more movement. But
so you have to play them differently, right? You can play all skeletons over all zombies, but you're going to take a few line blocks, and that sucks. But the zombies, you much more do the stick a zombie on somebody and say, here, you play with this guy, and then you hold up players like that. With skeletons, you use the extra movement to play more of a screeny style defense or whatever, rather than just a marking up people. It's 2 different ways of playing. Some people like one, some people like the other. I think I like the zombie one better, but the skeleton one certainly isn't wrong, per se. You just have to be aware that you're going to lose skeletons because armor 7 on the line. But often you'll have mummies on the line, so it's only one skeleton likely that's going to be there, so it's not the end of the world.
I wouldn't put my mummies on the line against most teams. Any team that could get an easy 2-die.
Not a lot of teams can, though. Especially once they get guard, though. And these ones don't, which makes that a difference. So without guard on those mummies, you don't necessarily always want to put them on the line, which means your skeletons are going to get punched, and then they might die because they're skeletons. So just be aware that you're likely going to have to replace skeletons if you go this way.
I don't know, Ben. What's been our favorite team theme so far in terms of names?
Oh man, that's hard. I don't know.
None of them have really destroyed me, so we'll see if we get some really good ones moving forward.
There have been some good ones.
What was Mr. Plasman's record? He's 3 wins, 2 losses, so he's doing pretty well. Had a couple of rough games, but Undead are very strong early on. So
Londinium coaching the old New York Sewer Rats. Skaven, obviously, with a name like
There's
Sewer Rats.
so many Skaven in Europe. It was really impressive.
I remember the signups. This Skaven team is less beaten up, and they have an Agi 5 Gutter Runner to add to the gross players. However, somebody clearly saw that player was gross and punched him really hard, and he is now miss next game. Yeah, miss next game.
So that's fine. He'll be back, and he'll still be gross, and he'll get punched again. It's the vicious Skaven cycle.
I liked Dave. All the players named Dave. And then there was the team that was like Massage You. That was good too.
The Peaceful Massagers, the Chaos in all purple. Yeah. Or pink. His players are ordered wrong, and it bothers me. 2 Stormvermin, no levels yet. He's got a Wrestle, got a Runner, pretty standard stuff. A Kick Lineman. Not a whole lot of development to talk about. He's got a Block Lineman.
Yeah, he's building one Gutter Runner for the Ball Hawk sort of position. As you always do with a Gutter Runner, you have at least 1, sometimes 2. Generally, even your first Gutter Runner level goes that way. But you can't pass up on the Agi 5 when you see that, so take that. I like the rats named Pinky, the Brain, Brad Pitt, Flash Rat, Professor Farnsworth, Yancey.
Yeah.
They're all like cartoon characters. It's kind of fun. Yeah, particularly ones that live in New York.
Yeah, exactly. So that's clearly what's going on there. He's got 1 draw, 4 losses, so he's had a rough go at it, though at least he's not sustained too many deaths. He's only sustained 1, so...
That Agi 5 Gutter Runner is going to help you so much in the long run, too.
Yeah, exactly. You get him Wrestle, something like that, or even Block to make a bludge, like ball recovery piece / ball carrier. So good.
You can dodge wherever you want with Agi 5. Looking at the leaderboard, we have 2 undefeated teams in the Dark Elves and the Chaos Dwarves. Although there are 2 teams with 3 wins, but we don't have there's not a whole lot of draws in this division, and the ones that do have draws tend to be at the bottom. So that is a bit of a separation, right? When you have 4 wins and no losses, 3 wins and 1 or 2 losses, it's going to be a bit harder for those 2-win teams to catch up if they don't at least have ties. And they don't. But it's not out of the running yet, but if those 2-win teams are going to have to win a lot coming forward to catch up to the Dark Elf and Chaos Dwarf teams, so we'll likely probably see those near the top.
And they need to start losing.
Yeah.
So if you don't see that, I would expect to see those 2 in the playoffs, absolutely.
Yep. Move on to Europe B. Probably going to be late for my game, but I think that's okay.
Yeah, me too. We'll pick up a little steam.
Yeah. Scary Spooky Skeletons by Macaulay.
One of the streamers who joined us, I noticed him streaming the other day. We were talking a bit. Got a Blodge Ghoul, really nice. Guard Mummy, super standard. Another Blodge Ghoul.
Good stuff.
No white levels yet, but they're both really close.
Yeah, sometimes you'll see people pick up like Block or Sure Hands first on the ghouls. These ones happen to be Block. You'll likely get Sure Hands at some point to just avoid the... it's Agi 3 pickups. It's not the best thing in the world, and you generally have to spend rerolls on them more than you'd like. So getting Sure Hands is good, but Block keeps them alive a lot longer, and you tend to lose ghouls, so that's a good plan.
Ghouls do die. It looks like the Chaos Dwarfs and the Dark
Elves
are
they're called the Scary Spooky Skeletons, but there are no skeletons.
I noticed that, yes. I was going to comment.
There's a skeleton inside all of them.
In case you would like to know, the Chaos Dwarfs and the Dark Elves are playing each other next. So they will not be undefeated. Someone will not be undefeated.
Unless they draw.
I guess.
The Scary Spooky Skeletons are 1 win, 2 draws, 2 losses, so probably on the lower end of the table there. We've got, but they might be able to pull it out a bit. Levels on the whites coming up soon will certainly help. Some more guard and then like a Mighty Blow.
Yeah, exactly. You can really get the attrition game going. I mean, you've got 2 Mighty Blow to start, but they're not the most reliable punches, so the white is going to be doing the blitzing. You really want to give one of them Mighty Blow to get that undead.
More
numbers advantage.
Skaven. Clan Nibblers, Toaster Bait.
Toaster's in chat all the time. Or Toast.
Ooh, some... Oh, well, speaking of one-turners, that's a plus movement gutter runner. So
Yep.
he is now sprint away from being able to literally score on his own in one turn with 0 pushes, which is always the scariest thing to happen if you can get it to work as Skaven. It's like, if you leave a Skaven opponent with 1 turn, they just tie it, or they go ahead, or whatever, just bonk, like, pass it to him, run to the end zone. It's very difficult to stop
and
that.
what's really great is because you don't need any movement, your blitz is free. Like you're free to use your blitz however you like.
Mm-hmm.
So you can then use the other gutter runners to blitz the screen down. Like if you just have if people just do the backfield defense against this, it just doesn't work because the gutter runners with their 9 movement can make it to the screen. We'll get to the screen, we'll punch a hole in it or punch an easier hole in it, and that gutter runner just goes in on a couple of 2+s with a built-in reroll.
Something else that's super fun about this is that he has an Agi 4 thrower. So now he has an Agi 4 sure hands pass character, so very easy to pick up the ball, super reliable passes. Agi 4 passes are great. With a built-in reroll that he can just hurl downfield to those Agi 4 catchers, which are gutter runners with movement 9 and 10. This is a good Skaven team so far and will be very scary. I like the Rat Ogre too.
I would ditch the Rat Ogre.
No, keep the Rat Ogre. Rat Ogres are great.
Rat Ogres are so bad.
Some people like them, especially if you're going to use one, you use it early, just to help keep your good players alive. And once you get some levels on the Storm Vermin, you can ditch him. Right, once one of the Storm Vermin picks up Guard, once one of them picks up Mighty Blow, then you can ditch the Rat Ogre and save some TV. But for now, you use him to keep your guys alive. And you want to keep this Agi 4 thrower and this movement 10 gutter runner alive because they are going to be so terrifying. And they very clearly have done work with 3 wins and 1 loss.
Just real quickly, Lufish, if you're still here, just make a note on the scheduling thread saying that you won't be able to play your game and you concede your match for this week, and the admins will take care of it on Wednesday.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I
no
noticed
worries.
he was chatting elsewhere, so.
Human, more Porkian misdemeanors by Chiroplastics.
Yep, this is the human team coached by Cairo.
Fred Colon.
Hero, maybe.
So we got a guard ogre, or that's a guard catcher. I don't know. I'm so used to the ogre being at the top. There is a guard ogre though. He's just down at the bottom. Guard catcher, as we've talked about before, he happened to roll doubles, so he picked up guard. Movement 8, dodge, guard. That's really good. You can put him anywhere you want on the field to help out those blitzes that you'll do with your blitzers, who don't have a ton of levels yet. They're very close though to 5/4 on those unleveled ones, and they'll probably pick up guard unless you happen to roll doubles like this guy did and pick up dodge, and then you have a blodge blitzer, which is even better.
Yep. This is a good team theme, but this is just because I like Terry Pratchett, so I'm a little biased. But the more Porkian misdemeanors is a great team name. He's been having a bit of a rough go at it, actually. 1 win, 1 draw, 3 losses. So humans can be a tough team to play early on. They're kind of jack of all trades, master of none issue. They often are outclassed by basically everyone, but they can kind of do everything, so they make up for it a bit in that way.
Block on the thrower is good too, especially if you plan on running with the thrower a bit and having your blitzers free to be the guard pieces in the corner cages and the punching, because it keeps them a lot more reliable. Guard on the ogre, very standard. He's going to go in the line and be your strength piece, your anchor, your guard that you can deal with stuff, especially when you don't have a ton of guard elsewhere. The blodge blitzer is amazing, and the guard catcher is amazing. You just need to catch up a little bit with some more human level, or some more blitzer levels, and then this team will be a lot more scary than it currently is. The lots of doubles early is great, but they don't give you the skills necessarily you need right away. But they help a bit down the line. So in a game or two, once these 3 blitzers level up and pick up some guard or mighty blow, then things will be looking really good for them. That's not a real team, I don't think. Or the orcs. I missed one. Right, we're lizards. No comment, please. Jermaine Rick. 930 lizards. So clearly they've taken some attrition here. Oh, it's because they have a miss next game, Croxigor. Well, that would explain.
Is he okay, though? Is it just an MNG? Nope, it's a niggle. That's
bad. Well, You don't have the money to, or you do have the money to replace him. You probably replace. You also want a third third reroll though.
Yeah, but you don't want to play a game. Let's see, what's his stats? He's 3-1-0, so he's a top contender. If you want to win games, you fire that Crocs and you hire a new one. As awful as that is, like you're losing 5 SPP by doing that, and you're losing a team reroll. But if you want to win games, you absolutely buy the Crocs. If you want to focus on development and maybe say, okay, I'm going to lose the next game, I think you get a team reroll and you fire him and buy him back next time. But yeah, playing a game without the Crocs can be really tough.
Yeah, you need that anchor kind of in the center to be annoying. And the Niggle isn't the worst because he's armor 9 and thick skull, but like if he goes down, he has a much higher chance of being out. And then playing the game without the Crocs is so bad. It's really hard. I guess it's up to you. Like I don't
have good advice. It's just like you have to make that call.
Yeah, like the reroll, I guess, is kind of better for like longevity purposes, I suppose. If you are willing to play, you're gonna have to play a game without a Crocs anyway.
Well, no, if you bought a new one right now.
Oh yeah, I see. Right. Yeah, it depends. I guess it depends on what your next matchup looks like. I won't comment on it because we can't take too long here. But if your next match is one that you absolutely need to win, I would fire that Crocs and buy a new one. If it's one that you're not too worried about. And you think you can win without it, like if it's maybe one of the lower ranked teams or it's a team that you think you're favored against because of Lizardmen, then maybe buy the reroll instead.
And you've got 2 block Saurus, so you're getting more reliable. So 2 rerolls isn't atrocious, but yeah, it's a bit of an issue.
And 2 block Saurus is good, certainly, and you've got 3 Saurus who are an MVP away from leveling. One of them is a Kaz away from leveling. So that's great. They're very likely to just fire off a bunch of block levels soon. 3 Skinks with no levels, so there's not a ton of SPP, but most of it has gone to the Saurus, which is great. Exactly. And you are 3-1-0, definitely top contender. So if your next match is one that you need to win, like another top contender team, I would probably get a new Kroxigor.
Yeah, exactly. I need to take care of something,
sure.
So you talk about what else.
Butcher's Eagles, coached by Pazltov. Team roster is Strip Ball Answer. Boom. That's your... Suddenly teams are scared of you now because you can play Elfie. You jump into the cage with your block dodge, Agi 4 Answer. You strip ball even on a half die. You try to recover it with one of your other good players. Hand it off to a catcher. Throw it to a catcher. Whatever. Go score. Repeat. No levels other than that, though, so there's not a whole lot to talk about. Lineman has got a level. If he gets doubles, guard 100% of the time. If he doesn't, kick is good. Maybe dodge to keep them alive a bit longer. Potential options. You'll want to get another reroll soon, likely, but also an Apo, and you can get both. So I would probably pick those up unless you're super worried about losing an important player, but the Apo will help with that, so I would pick up an Apo especially. Reroll is a bit more debatable, but the Apo you need, and you have the money for it. So grab one of those. 3 wins, 1 loss, so you are also doing really well. Top contender, certainly. I would pick up... You have a full team, which is amazing. Full 12 healthy players. Not a lot of levels, but they're alive, which is important for Wood Elves. And you don't even have an Apo, so I would pick up that Apo, and then you are looking good going forward. Onto the Zarkago Bulls, Hastir, Chaos Dwarf team. Not a ton of development yet, but this is the other school of leveling up Chaos Dwarf blockers that we talked about, where you take Mighty Blow first. A, it speeds up your leveling, and B, if you happen to roll Claw next, suddenly you have Mighty Blow Claw, and that's really good. Whereas if you don't take it first and you roll doubles, you have just Claw, which is less good, but you want to pick it up because you need the doubles to get it. Block on a Bull Centaur, as we've talked about, certainly a good first pickup. People will often either take, block, sure hands, break tackle, that kind of thing. Block is good because it makes you way more reliable on blitzes. And you're 1 SPP away from getting another level, so you can pick up one of those other 2 skills pretty easily.
Yep.
2 rerolls, you probably want to get a third one soonish, but you don't have the money quite yet. But you're not missing players. Hopefully you can get one after your next game. 2-0-2, so dead center, doing pretty good. Lavender Town Library, Blank Fate, the Dark Elf team. Another runner Dark Elf team. This one has plus Agi, and you have a plus Agi Blitzer. It's 2 Agi 5 players. That'll be some nonsense, I would imagine, in the passing, catching, dodging
this is a
type game.
Pokemon and author themed.
Yeah,
team.
Harper Hitmonlee, Meg Mark Twain, Lavender Town Library. I like it. I think this is good.
Hunter S. Thompson.
I think
true. Blank Fate wins.
This
There you go.
this is my favorite team so far. William Shakespeare, Amistar Wild.
It's great.
Okay.
So the Agi5 thrower and the Agi5 receiver, presumably, really good. It turns
blitzers.
out you can just long passes all day.
Blodge Blitzer if you want to carry the ball on somebody reliable.
Yeah, it's harder to do the total elf nonsense with Dark Elves because they're only movement 7 at their best. So
and they don't really have
them.
Players that start with the passing skills, right? They can pick them up on the runners because they do have passing access, but they don't start with pass or anything like a lot of the other elf teams do on their throwers.
It's true, but really good team so far. Blodge, he's got 2 Agi ups. He's got a guard, which is a double. He's got kick. He's got all the things you need to win games as Dark Elves.
Other than a Witch Elf.
Yep, but I'd get our 3rd reroll before a Witch Elf. So.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, and guard changes elf teams so much. 1 is great, 2 is stupendous. So 2, 2, and 1, so kind of in the center, but 2 wins and 2 draws with only 1 loss is nice. That still probably keeps you in contention. If you're not going to win, at least make it a draw, because that's a point rather than no points.
Exactly. So yeah, he's doing pretty well. 2, 2, and 1.
Another Skaven with Clan Cree, coached by John Cree.
Probably isn't in the league anymore, so we can skip his team.
Probably.
Yes, it's not official, but he's missed 2 games in a row. So,
okay.
Plus, I want to talk about KDEF's team.
My little Nurgle. Oh my God! What happened to the team? It's gone.
He lost 3 Rotters and a Beast of Nurgle game 1.
Well, he's picked up the Beast of Nurgle again, which is nice. And he still has at least a Pestigore, which is good. You can win games still with 1 Pestigore. Like, Rotters will die. Loner Rotters aren't the worst. Like, they're just fodder. That's all they are. They're fouling fodder. They're line fodder. And you've got the Beast of Nurgle back. So you've got all the players that you need to win games. You're just kind of stuck starting over in that, right? Like, Nurgle need to get another reroll, and they need to get a few more Pestigores.
Yeah, I mean, just so we're clear, after game 1 with 3 dead Rotters and a strength-busted Beast of Nurgle, we were like, you can just restart the team if you want. And he was like, nah, how bad can it get?
Good.
So,
well, good on KDEF then. I appreciate it.
Yeah, 5 deaths sustained so far. It hasn't gotten easier for him.
Well, I mean, all it is slowing down his development, right? You can still win games like this. You can still draw games like this because the only P pieces that are really missing are Rotters. It's just like you started a TV 1000 team, except some of your players are loners. So it's slightly worse, but you have the pieces that matter, right? You've got the Warriors. One of them is block. You've got a Pestigore to do some work. You've picked up the Beast of Nurgle again. Hopefully you can start killing people of your own and you can pick up some free Rotters.
So the good news is I believe he has a bye this week. And yeah, because he's playing John Cree. So he has a bye this week, and the SPP is guaranteed to land on his good players because he has no bad ones.
That's very true. And
other than this Rotter, if this Rotter gets a level up,
I mean, at this point, I would just fire that Rotter. Like you don't have. You don't have Rotters. You don't have any Rotters anyway. You might as well just accept it and make sure all the.
He's 5 out of 6.
But all the good SPP will then go on them anyway, right? I don't know, whatever. I suppose if he levels, you can get Dirty Player.
Yeah, exactly. Then you've got a Dirty Player Rotter, I guess.
0, 2, and 2. Very Nurgle-y start.
I mean, good Nurgle start considering the start he had, but yeah.
Yeah, that's true. A little rough, but it's basically just like starting over. You'll catch up eventually. It's just that your development is going to be a lot slower than other teams. Yeah, finally, we come to Soxy, your mentee, whatever.
Yeah,
Gangster Reptiles.
He's got a guard Crocs, 3 guard Saurus. He got 2 of these today.
4 rerolls seems like a lot to me.
He's at 4 rerolls, I believe, while the Saurus are unpredictable. It's debatable. I talked about this with him a bit. You can do it, especially early on in Lizard development, as a way of like giving yourself that extra reroll to do greedy things like Lizard handoff, Saurus handoffs, and things like that. So, and he did a Saurus handoff last game, which is why he's got an extra level. So I would keep it for maybe the next couple of games, and then it would be gone. Like once you get more block players, it's
once you have more block than no block, so probably 1 more Saurus level.
Yeah, exactly.
I like
Getting
the skink though.
getting two in his first real game really helped. And he's got the blodge. He rolled doubles in the skink this morning.
A
So
blodge step skink is super annoying for people to deal with.
yep, I still have one. He's still going.
Yep, they're hard to kill. And the guard Croxagore is great because that's the only skill that you really care about on Croxagores, at least initially. Yeah, so start to get some more development on the Sauruses, maybe another skink level, especially if you can pick up Shore Hands or something, but it doesn't matter too much, especially when you have 4 rerolls. So that's like you can just ball carry on little Bow Wow forever, and he's going to be hard to remove. So yeah, it's a good looking lizard team for this early, certainly.
Yep.
And he's winning, so 5-0-0.
Well, no, four of those are admin wins. He's only played one.
I see.
Game. But the good news for him, at least, is if you look at the leaderboard, he's in third because the person he replaced had 2 wins. So that's how it works. It just slots you in at someone else's record. So most of the time, it's a player who has lost all of their games or who never showed up. So, like, you end up with a 0-win record. But lucky for Sox, he took over for someone who presumably had to leave for real life reasons. So he's got 3 wins technically and 2 losses as his record, which means he's in contention for the top spot.
Yeah, and we've got another lizard team doing up there. There's a Skaven team up there. There's the top 4 are all basically 3 wins. So this division is a lot tighter than the other ones we've seen so far. Even up to the chaos, even up to the undead almost. Right, Spooky Scary Skeletons has 2 draws and a win. And with the top teams only being at 3 wins, if you win, if Macaulay wins his next 2 or 3 games, he could easily fire up to the top of the table or near the top of the table. So this division is a lot tighter. Unfortunately, Clan Cree, KDEF, and probably the humans are mostly out of the running for the playoffs at this point. But it's a lot tighter, this division, than some of the other ones we've seen.
Definitely.
And Europe C, I was about to say lastly, but we have the multi-region melting pot too, don't we?
It's true. Can't forget them. So yeah, first up we have Apple Branch, who just played a game, actually. Branch versus... I was just seeing that. Branch versus Glow Dude, who's been in the chat the entire time.
And they've picked up a Tree Man now, which is cool. I like Tree Men. They're fun. They keep your players alive. And as per every War Dancer ever, this one has Strip Ball. But you don't have a second one. And 2 War Dancers are basically mandatory.
He sustained 2 deaths, so I assume a War Dancer bit the dust.
Yeah, so the tree is not doing his job in keeping your War Dancers alive. Buy a new one. You need a new one as soon as you can. I know you can't afford it, but you need to get another. Like, War Dancers are the key players on this team. Although, thankfully, he's got a gross catcher in the making with Agi 5 and Sidestep.
Yeah, that's, Jesus. It's a really good catcher.
He's going to be annoying, hard to knock over. He's already movement 8 and sprint and sidestep. So if people push you, you can just push yourself closer to the touchdown line and make those 1 turn, 2 turns that elves are so much famous for, much more possible. They'll score on you, you score on them instantly. They score on you, you score on them instantly, repeat. And if you can ever get the ball free with one of your War Dancers, scoop it up and score on them instantly, and then they're up by 1, and then win games. And clearly it's working. 3 wins and 2 draws. So doing well, Branch. Need to pick up that second War Dancer. Sadly, you lost one.
But yeah, good record so far. Next up is Arendar's Red Velvet Titans.
Dwarfs.
The dwarf team.
Plus movement runner. That's awesome.
That actually is really good.
That's really good. Suddenly he's a lot more mobile. He can get to the big thing is that he can get to the ball easier. When you have such a slow team, and if there's like a really deep kick or something, your runner has to run for it, then he can be exposed because your other dwarves can't catch up to it. It's good for getting him the ball and then getting him safe. And if you really need to, he can just run and score much more quickly than... The downside is you're going to run away from your other players that protect him, but if you play the dwarf game well and remove players or keep them all tied up, you can run and you can score a lot earlier, which negates some of the dwarf weakness of being slow, certainly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
picked up a guard. Not a lot of development other than that, but he's well on his way to a bunch of levels. Expect we'll see a lot more guard.
Yep. Nothing on the Troll Slayers yet, which is a little sad because you like to see them pick up Mighty Blow or something, but... The guard probably helps. The Mighty Blow is fun. The guard helps you win games more. So certainly the development on the Longbeards is nice, and you can worry about the Troll Slayers later.
Yep, he's got a typical dwarf record of 1 win, 2 draw, 1 losses, or 1 loss. Had a rough game against the undead team, I think. A lot of 0 or 1 touchdown games, of course.
Veni Vidi Vikings. I saw iVikings. By iVikings, it's Apple's new longboat product.
Yeah, exactly.
Staponi. Let's see what we've got here. We've got a lineman who has picked up Fend, which is interesting. Pretty good though. Fend is always a nice. It's one of the skills that often you'll see people like when they get them for free, but that you don't pick them up very often on their own. But when you start with block, having only one skill, and that skill being Fend, is actually pretty good. It keeps them a lot safer on the line.
You also see it sometimes on really developed ball carriers to save yourself from frenzy, basically.
Yeah, and it's good for Norse, especially if you're putting them on the line, because it is likely to keep them a little more alive.
That said, he's niggled and he's armor 7, so he should be trash.
Yeah.
You can't keep niggled armor 7 linemen around. They're either they make you play poorly because you're trying to protect them, or you put them on the line and they instantly crumble.
The downside is he can't really afford to replace him yet.
That's a lineman.
Yeah, but you still really want to get another reroll, and you still want to get another berserker because you only have one. But he's 1 SPP from leveling, which is certainly great. The Ulfs, one of them has a level pending, so that's amazing because he can probably pick up block.
Barring a nice stat up, you wouldn't even take plus agi, so you really only take plus strength, maybe plus movement because he's a surfing threat. But
if you wanted to be like super crazy and ham, you could pick up mighty blow, but your berserkers are probably going to be your blitzing punchy pieces because they start with jump up. So like block is very likely to pick up on that Ulf.
Yeah, you really need the Ulfs as your strength pieces, so getting them more reliable is really important early on. So
either the record explains the hurt team, or the hurt team explains the record, in that he's got 1 draw and 3 losses. If Norse collapse, they collapse hard. So if you have a bad game or so and you start losing players, it can be hard to come back from that.
Oh, and Dr. Bones just finished playing against the Power of Plague.
That's not this division, I don't think.
No, we just talked about it. That was Lizards versus Nurgle.
Skaven Crew by Lord Skaven, who I've seen around as well. We've got a guard on a line rat, which is great because now you don't have to give it to your storm vermin, and they are movement 7, so they're easier to put in nice places. And then you can do things like giving Storm of Tea Mighty Blow, and you have your killing storm vermin already underway. Hopefully he rolls doubles and you get Claw. They're all named after like streamers and stuff. That's fun. Andy Davrat, Zunk Von Cheese, Ratty the Sage,
Gerber the Skink Rat.
Yeah.
Yep. So he still needs some development. Only has 1 block gutter runner. So looking for some SPP on the gutter runners. He's got the Mighty Blow Storm Vermin, like you said. It's really nice.
Ornan the mostly good.
His record isn't great. He's lost 3 of his games, drew 1 of them. So bit of a mixed bag, but
yeah, you need some more levels on the gutter runners to start winning as Skaven, and you don't quite have it yet, but you do. The levels you do have are really good ones. So once those gutter runners get some levels, then these players that already have levels will come into their own and help you win a lot more quickly. The Brotasticals, Paradise on Earth human team. Mr. Anderbro, the thrower, has picked up leader, which is good. Throwers, you get easy reroll access. It's easy passing access. It saves you some TV if you wanted to drop a reroll. You still currently have 3, so it puts you at 4. So it's not really saving you a ton right there, but it's an option if you wanted to drop a reroll. You could save some TV that way. 2 blitzers have picked up Mighty Blow. One of them has a niggle, which is a little sad, but he's armor 8 and he's a Mighty Blow player, so maybe you want to keep him around for now.
What I've often heard is that you'll keep niggled killers, and if they get isolated and killed, then that's just the way it is. You don't prioritize leveling with them or blitzing with them if you can, but they're not the worst pieces to keep around with a niggle. He's got a couple of other battered pieces, a couple of MNGs.
Yep. Yeah, they're out, which is sad. Catcher's got block, keeps him alive, as we've talked about, and guard on the splitzer, which is good. This splitzer is also likely to pick up guard once he levels. 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. Not the greatest of records, but you've got some out players, and that either, like we said at the Norse, either came about from the losses or the losses came about from having your players getting hurt.
Yep, hard to tell.
Dead or Alive, I Can't Tell by Glow Dude. The Undead, here we are. Let's see. 3 rerolls. We got a level pending on the white. He's already picked up Mighty Blow, so that's probably going to be guard because he's got Mighty Blow tackle on the other white. But he does have 2 guards on the mummies.
You don't usually pick up double killers on the whites. It's nice to have the mobile guard piece to like move around a bit more. Unless one of your ghouls rolls double, a guard ghoul is really, really good. I would expect guard. Would have expected guard as the first skill. He might go 2 killers. You can do 2 Mighty Blow, tackle. You could even go Mighty Blow straight into piling on with the white if you wanted to. That's just true. Get a killer for non-dodge pieces.
We did cover Europe A already, Plasmid, but this will be up on YouTube at some point, and you can also look at the Twitch VOD if you've missed the part you care about. You could do 2. The downside is you need guard to get those good blocks because they're only strength 3 generally, and the mummies aren't going to be able to provide it because they're movement 3, and it's going to be hard to get places.
Yep.
Both ghouls have picked up blocks, so they're much more reliable. They are much less likely to die. You can probably pick up a 3rd ghoul once you get the money, which you have. A, because it would give you a zombie bench, which is nice, and B, because then you have another movement 7 piece with dodge.
Yeah, this is the second undead coach that I've seen, though, that has all zombies and no skeletons for fouling. I usually like to keep 1 skeleton around, and I'd like to see him pick one up maybe even before the ghoul. So.
It's a little... Like it's ever so slightly better because movement 5, but in the long run it's like mostly irrelevant.
It usually doesn't matter, though you notice it when it does.
Yeah, exactly. 4 wins and 1 loss, so that's probably up at the top of the table, doing well.
We did not say you were bad. Lulfish is just a big old jerk. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Chaos.
Next. Hell's Doofuses.
I like that team too. By York 78, alas poor York. Chaos Warrior with Mighty Blow, and Beastman with Mighty Blow. So he's doing the thing that Chaos or Nurgle will sometimes do, where you just don't bother trying to win games, or if you try to win, like if you just hope you get lucky, basically, to win games, and you pick up Mighty Blow first on a lot of your players, just to accelerate their development, so that if you can only have to play 3 or 4 games before you can start getting the good level ups that help you win. But it kind of means that your first 3 or 4 games are going to have to rely on luck to win, because you're not getting the skills that help you win, you're getting the skills that help you level up. So that's the thing that Chaos players will often do, and it's not bad. It's one strategy that some people use. It just means that your first few games are going to be a lot harder to win. And let's see if I'm right about that. Yes, 1 win, 1 draw, 2 losses. So like your first few wins are going to be a lot harder to succeed with.
This is the strategy I've seen. Like, for instance, the Sage did it with the Slanesh Slaughterer. Just all Mighty Blow. Everyone gets Mighty Blow first, basically. You get SPP. You take both downs. You don't give a shit. You want to get SPP on those players.
Sorry, Shadorra's cam went away for a second there. I'm supposed to be playing a game right now, so just messaging my opponent, be like, "Can I please have like 30 more minutes?"
Yeah, we're almost
done, that's why his camera went funny for a second, because I needed to. It's a Discord window capture, so I had to move around Discord. And like you said, 1-1-2 harder to start, but you'll get the development faster, so you'll be rewarded later. Probably by next season, you'll be rewarded. It just means that this first season is going to be a bit harder.
Yeah, exactly.
Said Morimer.
Another Skaven and another Skaven. Plus movement gutter runner.
Another 1-turn threat. He is 3 SPP away from being a natural 1-turner, because you just pick up sprint and then he can do it all on his own.
Give him a touchdown. Also, get your Storm Vermin a touchdown if you can, or punch some people. You're really close to another level, so you get tackle or claw if you're really lucky.
Yeah, that's like Skaven play changes so much differently. The Skaven play becomes very different once you can get that 1-turner gutter runner, once you can get that murdering Storm Vermin piece. it can change how you play drastically, like for the better generally. So
Yeah, exactly. If you want, if anyone is interested, there is in Ben's VODs, in Steakmittens VODs, there's the college final game from our season, last season, which was Galactic playing Rats versus Lizards.
It's also on the YouTube channel.
Oh, it's also on the YouTube channel. That's true. And Galactic had a Claw Mighty Blow rat, which he used to great effect to remove quite a few Saurus by the end of the game. So if you want to see how that works once you have that Claw Mighty Blow piece, feel free to check that out.
Yep. And then we've got a Gutter Runner who's picked up Russell, who's going to be the Bulb Hawk piece for the movement Gutter Runner to take advantage of. He's 3 wins, 1 draw, so he's doing very well, and I'm certain that movement 10 Gutter Runner certainly helped out. In one more touchdown, this piece is going to be terrifying. One more touchdown, this piece is going to be terrifying. So I feel bad for whoever's going to have to play these guys coming up.
Yep. Next up is Dogmatism, which is Willward. Oh, what was his record? I forgot to check.
He's 3-0-1, I think.
Okay, so pretty good. Dogmatism by Willward. So a necromantic team. We have
3-1-0. Sorry. So even better.
Yeah, exactly. He is
J.K. Growling.
As I say, it's dogs and authors. People really like the author half of the theme.
Yeah,
and
the authorks.
Splicing that was exactly.
I like Patrick Stewart though. That's fun.
He's got a block werewolf, which is always a good start. Makes them much more reliable. Not a lot of development other than that. He's got a dirty player zombie, which is nice, but I bet he's eaten 2 MVPs based on that SPP count. Yep.
Yeah.
And a ghoul that's close to a level, probably getting block again, but not a lot else other than that.
Nothing on the whites is a little sad. You'd really like to get some white development to get the guard pieces going, but the block werewolf certainly is going to help you a lot. That makes those blitzes way more reliable. Two draws, 2 losses. Not the greatest record, but at least those are draws.
Yeah, necromantic can be a bit tough early. So
yeah, it can be tough early. You need those wolves to level, and you need those whites to level to make it easier to win. And you just don't have that quite yet. Hopefully you'll get it soon.
Yep. Next up is Steak Surrender Squad, coached by Steakmittens.
I forgot about that.
It's a fling. No, I'm just kidding. It's just Ben's admin team.
Yeah, it's randomly generated. Like all the names are generated. It's just for someone to surrender to if they need to.
The actual team is Creazione Decane
by Sunbather.
Yeah, I don't know what that reference is.
Neither do I, honestly.
So he's got the 1 werewolf start unless he's lost one, and he did roll doubles and get the Mighty Blow.
That's right amazing. Mighty Blow Claw is terrifying. The downside is it's not as reliable because you have no block, and if you don't knock them over, you have to follow up. So you need to be really careful about those frenzy traps. But in 1 SPP, that is going to be a really scary wolf because he will have block. You also have 190k, so you need to burn some anyway. You could probably pick up your second wolf. I don't think there's anything else you need right now.
And yeah, you don't really want another ghoul. And you've been handing off well to the wolf, so you've obviously got that down. You've got the block flesh golem, which is really nice.
Yeah, so I'd pick up another werewolf probably. You need to burn some money anyway, and might as well have a second werewolf. The whites don't have a lot of development though, sadly.
Yeah, and you want to prioritize development on the werewolf, so having 2 undeveloped werewolves is kind of rough. Like the Mighty Blow one is effectively undeveloped. He's as dangerous as a rookie one, so
yeah, but
I could see holding off.
It's only 1 SPP though.
Bench.
But
but you still have to get it, and he doesn't become more reliable for the game after he's played it, right?
Yeah, I know. And you want to get SPP on those whites too. So I mean, maybe play 1 game without a wolf and try to get 1 SPP on that werewolf from a pass or something, and then see if you can score on those whites to try and get them with their Mighty Blow or guard in particular.
Yep. And
2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss. So doing pretty good. That's definitely over average. Probably mid top.
Yep. So he is 4th.
There you go.
Up at the top, predictably, are the Undead team, who are 4 win, 1 loss. They had their first loss just now against Branch, who's the 2nd place team at 3-2. So there's a lot of room to fight for 2nd, even 1st, reasonably.
Yeah, but, the Skaven have a chance too at 3-1. Like they don't have the 2 of the top 3 teams don't have any losses yet. The Necromantic has a reasonable chance too with 2 wins. If they start winning, especially on the back of that wolf, will likely be able to help a lot. They could easily go up to the top of the table. Dwarf Human and Chaos are getting to the point where unless they start winning now, they're probably out. And based on how the Chaos are developing, they're not likely to win games. They're just trying to develop their players at this point. So I would say that we're likely to. This isn't going to change a whole lot. We might switch around the top 4 a little bit, but
it's mostly going to be between those 4 teams. Yeah. And last up, the multi-region melting pot.
I forgot this was a division until I checked this today.
Yep. So a lot of level up spending because you guys hate us and don't want us to review your teams. That's nice.
Froggy Kissers by Roderick. We've got a high elf team with pending level ups, but nothing developed yet.
That
is a lineman. He's likely to get block, maybe wrestle, probably kick as your first skill as high elves. It's certainly helpful. You've got no development. Thrower's very close, which is good. You might want to get a catcher so you can start doing that.
Probably get an Apo first, but then can you get an Apo and a catcher? I don't know how much catchers are. Probably.
I think they're less than 120k. So
yes. They're not a big guy after all.
You'd probably get a catcher, or maybe even just a lineman. Depends. You don't. Once you get a catcher, they're going to hog a lot of the SPP. So you might want to focus on getting it on the blitzers and the thrower for now, and then pick up a catcher later. But you have the money and you need to burn some, so I would definitely buy an Apo.
I do like
one draw, 3
all,
losses. Sadly,
Disney princesses. We've had another Disney princess theme from
Froggy
last
Kissers.
Year.
Yeah, they're all princesses to kiss the frogs who become princes.
Yeah, exactly.
One not the greatest record, but high elves
suck. Yeah.
Well, they don't suck, but they're not good early. They become probably the best elf team if you can get them to the end.
They have the most potential.
Yeah, but they're not. They're harder early on because they don't have a lot of the elf. They only get 2 blitzers, and they don't have a lot of the elf skills like the free dodge or sidestep or whatever like some of the other elf teams get, and that makes it a bit harder.
And we're gonna blast through these because I've got a game in about 9 minutes.
I've got a game 20 minutes ago. Iron Maiden covers by Rispervisor. Risper. Sorry.
No level ups to speak of because he hasn't leveled up the 2 zombies that have levels, and that's all there is today.
Werewolves don't have any SPP, really, sadly, and neither do the whites. One is at 3, so 1 touchdown on him and you'll get some levels, which is good. A little unfortunate that the zombies get the first levels, but sometimes that happens. 2 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss, though, so you're doing well despite the development.
Yeah, he's winning 1-0 or 0-0 ties, which explains a lot of the SPP differential.
Yeah. Winged Centaurs by Aussie Vikinger.
Aussie Viking, yeah, I've seen him around a bunch. Another short team. Yep, he went with the break tackle start on Bull Centaurs.
Hello,
Arendar. I usually do. It's very nice.
And then block on the second one, which is great. So now he's movable with the break tackle, and he has the block to do the blitzes and stuff. Pending level up on a Chaos Dwarf blocker, either Guard or Mighty Blow, or Claw if you roll doubles, because you just got to take it if you get it. Kind of sucks, but you need it.
Not a lot of blocker SPP, a little unfortunate. The Bull Centaurs have definitely been hogging it, but that's to be expected. And now that they're more developed and more reliable, you'll be able to get more done with these Chaos blockers, hopefully, especially once they get better Guard for more blocks and Mighty Blow.
3-1-0, so they're clearly doing well, but Chaos Dwarfs are a team that's easy to do well with at the start.
It's true.
Cat Attack Man, I've seen him around in other people's streams and stuff. Fork Tons, Lizard Men team. Let's see, we've got not a whole lot of development. 1 level on the Saurus to get block, but one of the skinks has plus movement, which is certainly nice. One of them has sidestep, which is also good. That's pretty standard skink level, though. The plus movement is just nice because it gives you much closer to being able to do those 1 turns or 2 turns reliably.
The plus movement is really good. It turns him into a gutter runner, so he needs 1 push once he has sprint, and you can run it in. So
only 1 Saurus level, but 2 of them at least have some SPP, so we're gonna get it soon. And the Crocs is only 1 casualty away from getting Guard, which is also good.
The 4 total is nice.
Yeah.
And he's been doing well with 3 wins and 1 draw, so another top contender there.
B-Wiz, I like this team too. Helgen. Who I've seen around a lot too, also in Andy Davo's stream very frequently, the Sages stream. We've got a rat team, Daniel Ratcliffe, Rat Pit,
Oh, Agi 5 niggled. Oh,
That's awful. I mean, Agi 5 is so good. You want to keep it around. The niggle makes him such a big target, and he's going to die at some point. But Agi 5 is so good. I think you just need to take advantage of it while you have it, and then just be sad when he dies.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll suck because whenever he dies in a game, that game will suddenly become a lot harder. But he's just too good to get rid of, I think, with Agi 5.
Yeah, for sure.
Got a Gutter Runner with Wrestle, got a Gutter Runner with Block, pretty standard Gutter Runner levels, and a Storm Vermin with Mighty Blow, another standard Storm Vermin level, either Mighty Blow or Guard first, and Lineman with Kick, always good, especially when you can take advantage of it with an Agi 5 Gutter Runner.
Really solid stuff.
Good start. That Gutter Runner is unfortunate. Agi 5 is so good, but the Niggle is awful, especially on that one player. Yeah. 2 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, so ahead of the curve, certainly. Blacklisters Union by Corvain, the Chaos team. I like the colors. That orange armor is neat. Nice. Wow. He's got 4 Chaos Warrior levels, and all of them have picked up Block. That's awesome. Getting levels on those Chaos Warriors is huge. That Block is so good in helping you be more reliable and actually winning games. And then you're doing the thing that some players will do, where they pick up a killing piece immediately, right? Like first Beastman is going to get Claw Mighty Blow Block or Mighty Blow Claw Block, some order of that. You're going to be blitzing with him every turn, trying to get kills. Instantly go with him. Like, those blitzes that you're going to be making are likely going to be your safest blocks because you'll want to get them done. You'll want to get them done first, right? So they'll never be really risky 1-dies often. So not doing them without block is not the worst. And it helps accelerate your development a lot. And if you can remove a player or two pretty quickly, it can make the games a lot easier to win as Chaos, especially when you have a bunch of block. So I really like this Chaos team so far. A few more levels and things will be amazing. You want to get some guard probably on those Chaos Warriors. One of those Beastmen is going to want to pick up like Sure Hands or something. And that Claw guy wants to get Mighty Blow and block. And then this team is looking amazing.
For sure. Claw first is usually not how you do it. Mighty Blow tends to be better on average because it can apply to either the armor or the injury if it's not used to break armor.
Depends on what armor value you're playing against.
Yeah, I mean, if it's entirely armor 9, it's theoretically better by a little bit, but not even by that much. I think in general, Mighty Blow.
Well, the other thing is that even if you don't injure people or whatever, just armor breaking and getting stuns are still good. So if he was coming up against a dwarf team or a chaos team or something, or an orc team, maybe it's probably why he picked up Claw first over Mighty Blow.
Yeah, it could be.
But I really like this team so far. It's looking good and gonna be scary
really
soon.
Solid.
2 wins, 2 losses. Pretty standard Chaos, basically dead even. Depends on how lucky you get early on, until you can get some of those reliability skills. Hey, Toaster.
Now, so he's going well.
Smelly Wrestlers by Dr. Ben.
Dr. Ben.
The orc team.
More block.
Well, those are all blitzers. They start with block.
I know, I meant the black orc and the thrower, though, so he's now up to like 50% block.
Yeah, we've talked about this to death. Black orcs will often get guard or block first. If you get block first, your blitzers are going to want to get guard, and your other black orcs are going to want to get block. So when one of these blitzers levels up, which he's got 3 that are primed to do so, you'll probably see a guard unless he gets some weird double or something, or a stat up. Blocking the thrower is nice because now he's less bad. He's slightly more reliable in that. Yeah, he's slightly more reliable now in that he's less likely to fall over and that kind of thing. So. Yep,
and he is 1, 1, and 2. So bit of a mixed result for early orc. Early orcs can be good, but they can also struggle with their lack of skills other than blitzers. So.
Rosicrucials by Shit Sauce. I'm surprised that made it through the filters. Bretonnian.
Bretonnian team.
Yeah, we got another one. First Blitzer has picked up Dodge, which is certainly good. He's now Blodge with 1 level, plus Dauntless and Catch. Blitzers are definitely the workhorses of these teams. And a blocker with Guard. Now, this is an interesting point. I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'd like to talk about it. Guard wrestle may seem weird because they are going to be wrestled to the ground likely. But now think about how annoying guard is. You often want to try to remove the guard player because it will make so many of your other blocks easier if you can remove that guard player. But he has wrestle, so in the context of removing him, you're also knocking yourself down, which can likely make the rest of your own blocks pretty bad, right? It seems weird, but I think it's actually really good.
Yeah, it's definitely got some synergy, even if it isn't the most intuitive skill combination. Certainly.
Yeah, I really like that. It's interesting and it's cool, and I think it's actually good, despite what a lot of people might say about that at first glance. Like you said, it's not intuitive, but I think it's good.
Well, he's had a bit of a rough go at it, as I've said a lot throughout the stream. 0, 0, and 4, so hasn't won a game yet.
Bretonnians are really hard to. They're good early because blitzers are so good as players, but they're also really hard to play. And this is a rookie league where people don't have a ton of experience, so it's hard to blame people for not doing amazingly on the hard teams initially.
Yeah, like Bretonnians can be tier 1 early, but that's if you're a skilled player.
Yeah,
so
certainly.
If you're just learning the game, it can be really tough.
Cleveland Greens by Andrew Gedden.
I believe Andrew Gedden was Andrew Gedden has to leave the league, so we don't need to talk about that.
Rebbrl Orcs by Sherlock77, another Orc team.
Yep, this is a new reserve, so we don't need to talk about his record at all. He just joined, but
no
we
games
can't talk
yet.
about his roster.
So he's picked up catch on a blitzer, which is kind of funny. He's actually trying to play the Orc throwing game. So you'll keep the thrower around in that case because you have the free pass skill. You really hope you're going to get plus agi on one of them. Although an agi 3 throw and catch isn't bad if you keep them short. You can't do the super elf plays, but you can toss it up the field 6 squares or so and have a pretty good time catching it and throwing it with those skills.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's not the standard way to build orcs, certainly, but if he's making it work, or he's going to try to make it work, I should say.
Yeah, and as long as you keep the passes short, it's doable.
He's probably going to pick up a, like you said, guard on a blitzer. We'll see how he does going forward. He's a replacement, so he's going to have a rough time with playoffs, but it'll be a good building season either way.
Two block black orcs is certainly nice, especially because you didn't have to play without block black orcs. Suddenly you have strength 4 block blocks, which sounds weird, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
That make things much more reliable. And yeah, you'd like to get some guard on one of those blitzers, but you have one that's about 1 SPP from leveling up. So next game you should have some guard, and then this team will be looking pretty good.
Yep. And looking at the leaderboard, the Lizard Fork Tons are at the top with 3 wins, 1
Another
draw.
pretty close division.
Yep. Aussie Viking and Cat Attack Man are at the top, like we said. But Skaven, Necromantic, Chaos are all contenders to get in there.
And even Orc, weirdly, with 4 draws.
He's out of the league. So if we find someone to replace him, maybe.
Because that's no losses still, right? That's still 4 points, right? The team, like the Chaos team ahead of you, is 6. So if you win, you're suddenly at 7 points, and you like, if you start winning as these Orc teams, it's possible to, or the replacement team, I guess, it's possible to go up the division. Yeah, we're just about done, Arendar. But this will be up on YouTube, and it'll also be a VOD on the Twitch channel if you want to see the parts that you missed. But that's basically about it for this. Close division. The top 4 teams are all easily within striking distance.
Yeah, we'll try to do another one of these if we have time before the playoffs. So we'll see how.
There's only 2 of us, and this takes an awful long time, sadly.
Oh, it does. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, and that was us trying to go quick at the end. So that's that. I have a game I need to jump into like right away. I'm holding up a guy. So thanks if you're just here for the college review. Thanks for that. Thanks for checking it out. This will be up on YouTube later if you missed the parts that you wanted to see. Feel free to stick around and watch me play Blood Bowl if you want. I'll be back with it very shortly. And like Shadorra said, we will try to do another one closer to playoffs, like once we're at week 9 or whatever, and we know who's in the playoffs, and we can maybe do a pre-playoff prediction stream kind of thing. And then I'm going to try to cast as many of the college playoff games as I possibly can, but there are only 2 of us, and we're in the same time zone, basically. So if the games aren't being played at times that work for us, then we're not really going to be able to cast them, unfortunately. But we'll do our best to do as many as we can live come playoff time and get excited, and I hope everybody enjoyed it.
Yep, thanks, guys, and catch you around.
I'm Steakmittens, and that's the other one.
Fuck you.